broadcasting on Grove Street FM. Brought to you by Media Squatch. It's Life, Liberty, Happiness with your host, Brian Schley, with Trent Warner.
All right, everybody, welcome to the David Hallnaker State Farm Studios. We are live today. Back. We had a little bit of sabbatical.
It was an unexpected break.
Unexpected
threw on
to
us.
say, yes. Well,
it was nice, though, when we don't have it, is how many people texted me like something is wrong.
Yeah.
Did y'all not do a show? Did Emma not upload it?
Yeah, no, I agree.
It was
Speaking of Emma, Emma's on vacation.
Yeah.
So she sent me a little clip to play for the new person that's in the chair, cut A.
Hello, Mr. George. How much you pay for the new guy? $20? No, too much money. He's no good operator.
Yeah, that's good. No good operator.
She's not wrong. She's not wrong.
Thanks, Emma. I got my little hydrogen water purifier.
Looks healthy over there.
It is. It's supposed to have a lot of. Listen, I'm a sucker for product.
No, I am too.
So if you're listening out there, send me product.
Yeah.
But seriously, it's supposed to have health benefits to it.
Well,
Listen, if Joe Rogan and Dana White recommend it, I'm buying it.
well, they also look different.
That's a far-fetched. Listen, I got to do something. The comments that we get now are
it's brutal.
ruthless.
That's so funny.
The one where
He said both of y'all could use a salad.
Thanks for throwing me in there.
you ask when you sitting on the floor, like one of them's like he's sitting on the floor.
He's actually standing.
Good thing he's drinking Diet Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the comments are great. I'm telling you, I think the comments
It's great, man.
are Woody in his room, in his underwear, making comments.
I live for the TikTok comments.
Logging on with different names, usernames.
Man, do we got a great show.
Yeah.
A little bit later on, we'll be joined by Air Force Master Sergeant Jay McCoy.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that segment.
Very cool. Because we got 4th of July week.
Oh, yes. Big week coming up. Brad's coming by,
Yeah.
stopping by.
Yeah.
Hi, Brad.
On the short train.
A little short bus. All right, backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
I did something while we were gone last week. I made a purchase.
Which is why we couldn't be on air.
That is why dude, it was so stressful. Like, it's one of the most stressful things I've ever done in my life.
That's a big purchase, man.
Dude, it was crazy. And so, look, the jury is still out on whether General RV is where I purchased the new fifth wheel toy hauler.
A new camper.
Yeah.
But you had a motorhome before.
Correct. Swapped it out. So I'll just give you the ins and outs. They gave me a price on my motorhome trade-in. Mm-hmm. I had read TikToks that Camping World, General RV, these places give you a decent number and they'll even negotiate. They're easy to give you more money. And then when you get there to actually do the transaction, they go, I'm sorry, man, we just found this problem and found this problem. And they just, that did happen.
Okay.
I was furious at first because you've gone through the trouble of driving that far.
Yeah, you went to Richmond, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but through some negotiations, I got some of the money back. Mm-hmm. And all in all, it was a decent experience. So when you trade in, they give you this VIP pass, right? Mm-hmm. And there's all these steps they want you to go through. Like, it's your day. Let me just tell you, it was 100 degrees that day. My day was, hand me the damn keys and let me go.
Yeah.
But I couldn't. We had to wait for a guy to take us through the camper. He happened to have a broken leg and was on a scooter.
Oh, man.
100 degrees outside. I didn't care. I just wanted to leave.
Yeah. Like you'd already made the agreement, time to go.
Yes. But
you couldn't leave with it because you don't have a truck.
And I haven't signed the documents yet. Okay. They don't let you skip steps.
So you have to do the walkthrough completely.
You have to.
Yeah.
So we finally get through that. Then we have to go to the finance guy. That's where we did some beating up back and forth, and we finally came to an agreement. And, I was okay leaving.
Is Ashley with you during this whole time?
Mm-mm.
So you leave her in the car?
No, she wasn't there for the transaction.
Oh, I thought she was riding with you when you called. You called me. She was with
This isn't my name. This is in case things go bad. I've got somewhere to live.
That's actually a prediction.
Oh, no. We've been together for 16 years. Hopefully it can last another 16.
Okay.
20. All right. So anyway, your brother came with me because my truck is still in the shop. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it was, we finally.
She was with you because you called me and you said, hey, because I said, well, when are you going to pick it up? And you said Wednesday.
Yeah, she was with me at the original when we went down there to look at it. But she wasn't with me. You know, they had given me a price over pictures.
But that's when I said, dude, what about the show? And you went, oh, it's like you had, I think you were so focused on the camper.
Oh, yeah.
You forgot that we have a show on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So
and then I thought.
It screwed everybody.
Yeah. I thought we were going to be able to, but once they told me it's a 4-hour process, I'm like, there's no way we're driving back.
Yeah.
Which was a good thing. We camped that night outside near the place, which was nice.
That's a good idea. So you test it all out.
Yep.
Before you come all the way home.
So
but anyway, now you still can't use it, right? So it's parked, but you don't have your truck.
Waiting on Chevrolet.
Dude, that's 5 weeks since we went to Cross Lanes with the problems with your truck.
And it's a good possibility it could be another couple of months.
So that's the problem with supply chain. I mean, General Motors.
The problem with Chevrolet General Motors right now. And they were, listen, they called, they gave me a case number and they said, you know, put on a different priority list now because it's a company truck and blah, blah, blah. We'll see. But I mean, they've been nice. They gave me a rental and they said, we'll get you a fifth wheel whenever you want to go camping.
So it's your transmission, right?
It's a part on the,
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's good. Well, listen, it's not 2019, I think, was when Chevrolet essentially took over building their own transmissions and they stick the Allison name on it. So.
Well, there's something wrong with the supply chain if you've got to wait 6 weeks and still not have your vehicle. Didn't you say it could be longer?
Oh, dude, if you go online, there's people that have waited 7-8 months.
That's unbelievable. They shouldn't even be able to sell a truck if you can't supply it.
I agree.
That's ridiculous.
So
anyway.
Yep.
Yep.
And this weekend, real quick, before we get to yours, we're around the house. So we'll probably just, go down to the Spec House to watch fireworks because it's a perfect view.
Oh, okay.
Sit in the front porch and wait for somebody to buy it. If you're interested in a new home, I have a beautiful one built right off of Bedford Avenue.
You can literally walk to Liberty Station, drink, and then walk right back.
Mm-hmm. And it is a front seat to the fireworks. I ain't joking.
If I lived down here, I wouldn't think twice about that. That's a perfect spot.
I love it. Anyway, go ahead.
Yep. Oh, nothing. Nothing big at our house. Marty's been on vacation. She went down to the condo down at Beaufort. And then, so it's just been being by myself because we also got Ginger spayed. So she's been walking around with her little cone head all weekend. So I've been watching the dog. So did hang with friends at the pool and went to the lake. So we'll be doing probably the same thing this weekend.
Nice.
Nothing big.
Cool.
Yep.
All right. On to this day in history.
This day in history.
1962.
That's the new bumper, Woody.
Girl, thank you. I was nervous. I thought I had to click play.
I do it each week.
Okay.
The other one was too long.
Too long.
We just had to make an executive decision.
Yeah.
Emma said it sucks, so we got on this day in 1962.
Yeah.
This store opened its doors for the first time. Do you know what store that would be? Anybody?
Sears. No.
Jesus.
Sears would have been the 40s.
Walmart.
Jesus. Oh, Walmart. Really?
Mm-hmm. Sam Walton
I thought that was an 80s invention.
1962.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's a good trivia question.
In Arkansas.
Interesting.
Yeah. What do you got?
2002. Okay. Do you remember this when it was big where this guy kept trying these attempts? In 2002, the balloonist went up in a hot air balloon and was the first person to make it all the way around the world. Oh, do you remember how he would try those other attempts and he'd make it like 3/4 away and land in Africa or something?
I do.
You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
What I never understood about that is why did it take him weeks to do it? Why couldn't he just go straight up and wait one day and come down?
You are dumb.
Yeah. No, I'm not
The
dumb.
world
I'm just saying, you just go
turns.
up,
You're stupid.
you just wait, you let the world come around, and you just come right back down. Why couldn't he just wait?
Why don't you do that? Because technically, yeah,
So-
you've been around the world in one day.
So get this, that guy's name was Steve Fawcett. So I always like to try to find out, okay, you and I do the same thing. When you're watching a movie about a documentary or something, what's the thing you do during the movie? Towards the end?
I Google.
You Wikipedia and
Yes.
find out. So, okay, I was like, that's an interesting story. So that same guy, I was like, that's the same guy. Do you remember 3 years later, he's also the first person to make it all the way around the world in a plane without refueling. He made it all the way around the world remember he had that solar plane? Do you remember that way back in the day?
Yeah, I think so.
2005. It was the same guy. I was like, man, I don't even remember that being the same dude. And then in 2007, he went missing.
No.
He took one of those, those like John Denver, when he was one of those pilots that would go up with those test vehicles. That's how John Denver died, right? No, he died hitting a tree skiing. It was one of those guys.
What the hell?
No, there was a famous dude that and he died in one of those, the test planes. Well, this guy went missing in 2007. So much so that in 2008, his family won a court case to declare him dead because they couldn't find him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So in 2008, he was declared dead. Later that year, they found him. His plane, his engine, and his remains were in Nevada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that guy that went around the world and did both of those things,
That's what he ends up. Yeah.
he ended up dying in one of those little test planes. Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
Yeah.
On to our next American hero story.
The American dream is built on freedom, and that freedom comes at a cost. American Heroes Stories, presented by Life, Liberty, Happiness, is a new series honoring the men and women who've sacrificed to protect that dream. We're proud to play a small part in preserving their stories for future generations. Life, Liberty, Happiness, a Media Squatch podcast presents American Heroes Stories.
All right. We welcome to the program Air Force Master Sergeant Jay McCoy.
Man, that intro was for me.
Yeah.
I was getting excited. Like, man, who we about to hear about?
That sounds legit.
That's a lot to live up to right there.
Well, that's brand new. And when Emma goes away, that's what we get.
That's what we get.
Woody
Emma.
comes through, and that's what a bumper. What a start.
Yeah,
Good
that's
job, Woody.
great.
Thank you.
Well, welcome to the program.
Glad to be here.
All right. Start us off with your early beginnings. Where's home?
So home, I guess home will always be South Louisiana.
What part of Louisiana?
Little town you never heard of called Santima, Louisiana.
Okay.
I guess.
Now, where is that near or in relationship to Baton Rouge?
Yeah, it's about 25, 30 minutes south of Baton Rouge.
Okay.
About the same to New Orleans as the crow flies.
Okay. Gosh, I'm trying to think of the name. Like, so if you were to go, keep going south, there's one little beach where you can go fishing down there.
Did you really think one little bit that was going to describe?
We used to spend a lot of time out at Grand Isle.
beach. That's it.
Yeah, Grand Isle.
Grand Isle.
Yep.
Yeah, because
Wow.
it's not a beach like you think.
I thought Louisiana has a long coastline.
It's all swamp.
Yeah, it's got a jacked up coastline because it's right there at the Mississippi Delta, so it's a lot of marsh. In Grand Isle, I like to say I'm spoiled rotten by beaches now because Grand Isle, right there at the mouth of the Mississippi, you've got brackish brown water, you got dead fish everywhere. But that was going to the beach as a kid, so we were pumped about it. Now you take me to, somewhere me and my family just spent a week in Emerald Isle, North Carolina. I'm like, this is
Heck yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, that's where I'm retiring to. I'm going down there, man.
Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome.
All right. So when you, like last week was deadly hot here, when you walk outside, are you like, this isn't heat?
You'd think so, but through the military and through my career, I've lived so many places. No, I consider myself a native Virginian at this point.
Okay,
as far as the temperature goes. I was stationed in Alaska at one point, and when I came back down south, went to go visit mom and dad in Louisiana. It was July, and my dad's like, "Hey, I need help setting up this deer stand. Come with me." And about 30 minutes in, I went and sat on the four-wheeler, and I'm like, Dad, you got to take me home. I'm about to pass out. And he thought I was joking. And I'm like, no, man, this heat's about to kill me.
Awful.
You know,
like I'm a Virginia boy, and I go down there, and I'm like, I can't take it. Like there's no air moving. You can't hide from it.
It's a wet, hot blanket
Yes.
all summer long.
Ugh. Man. All right. So you spend your whole childhood basically there. You graduate high school there. So out of high school, are you going straight into the military at that point?
Yeah, straight into the Air Force. I was delayed enlistment, so I actually signed my enlistment contract the summer between my junior and senior year of high school.
Okay.
So as fast as I could get into the military, I went.
What was the itch?
It's part of me thinks it was a calling. It's what I was put on this earth to do. I mean, 6 years old, I think I saw the Blue Angels fly for the first time, and I was hooked.
Heck yeah.
Oh, wow.
You know, I was born in the 80s, grew up in the early 90s, and Top Gun, you know. And that was, I feel like that was action movie culture.
Yeah.
It all went back to the military. You know, it was either some former special operator or, you know, you had movies like Top Gun, and I think it was Iron Eagles.
Yes.
There was one about helicopters that was super cool.
Now, are you picking the Air Force because of the pilot stuff? You know, that's Navy, but how did you choose the Air Force over the other branches?
Good advice.
Okay.
Yeah, so early on as a kid, I did want to be a naval aviator and follow in Maverick's footsteps. And then obviously 9/11 happened. I'm still in school, and that really changed my trajectory. And seeing the war televised, you know, the early parts, the invasion of Afghanistan, invasion of Iraq, I really wanted to be on the ground. You know, I was aware enough to know as an aviator, well, the Afghan Air Force is non-existent. Saddam's Air Force, well, we took care of that for the most part in the Gulf War, and I don't think they recovered very well. But there wasn't a lot of dogfighting going on in the GWAT. So I wanted to be a ground guy, and early on, you know, late middle school, high school time frame, I'd kind of switched and just was infatuated with the Marine Corps and everything that the Marine Corps stood for. But my dad, he was a law enforcement officer for 27 years, and obviously in that community, he worked with a lot of veterans. He wasn't a veteran himself, but I think half of his crew at any given time were veterans, and a lot of combat veterans. And so, you know, between him being a father and wanting to protect his son, and just like I said, good advice from a lot of his coworkers, they said, man, have your boy join the Air Force. You know, they've got the best schools, they've got the best living conditions, they get the best deployments. The Air Force is where he needs to go, you know. So it was really that, I think, that paternal advice from my dad and his coworkers. And I think the final nail in the coffin, I had a really good friend growing up named Anthony. He and I were like brothers. And he had an uncle that had served in the Air Force and went on to start his own private security company and was doing really well for himself. And he sat me down one day and explained his job as a OSI special agent in the Air Force. And I want to say he was responsible for protecting the program, the classified program around the SR-71 Blackbird. And I just thought that was super cool. I didn't know, you know, you could do that in the military. And, you know, he described it as counterintelligence. And I go back to that movie, A Few Good Men. And there's a scene in that movie where Jack Nicholson's number 2 is XO. You know, he kind of goes off the map. And somebody makes a comment in that movie, and they're like, that guy, he spent X amount of years in counterintelligence. You'll never find him. And that kind of stuck with me. And I was like, oh, maybe
That's cool.
maybe that's where I need to go. And that's what happened.
All right, so you've joined now. Where is boot camp at? Where do you get sent for that?
Yeah, so everybody in the Air Force, at least in my generation, goes through Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas.
Okay. All right, so was there ever a time when you get off the plane, whatever, or bus, and you go, all right, this was the wrong decision, or you felt the whole time that's where I needed to be?
I was grinning from ear to ear. And listen, like I say, I tell people I fell for the government's long-term recruitment strategy. It wasn't just the movies, you know, but then because of the movies and my desire to join, I was active in scouting all the way up to high school. Our high school had a junior ROTC program, so I was active in that all the way until I left. So I feel like my early childhood years and my formative years were spent preparing for the military.
Okay.
So when I finally got to step foot on a military base, I guarantee I was grinning ear to ear.
So most of the people we've had on were Marine Corps, Army, but so what's the Air Force boot camp like? I mean, how is it different than the other branches of the military?
For me, and I kept in touch with a lot of my buddies who went to various branches. The biggest difference was mine was short. I think they've extended Air Force basic training at the time, but mine was only, I think, 6 weeks long, whereas my buddies in Marine Corps were there for double that, 12 weeks. Mm-hmm. But as far as the environment, and I know that the military branches, we like to pick at each other and there's always these memes going around and some guy with a silver platter and a suit on bringing you your lobster for dinner in Air Force basic training. But it's just not the case. I think the military as a whole, the Department of Defense knows how to conduct basic training and knows what it takes to break somebody down and build them back up as an airman, soldier, sailor, Marine, whatever. And the process looks the same across the board.
Okay.
I don't think it was that much different.
So what was after basic training? What's after that?
Yeah, so for us, we call it tech school.
Okay.
Other branches would call it A school, but that's you get assigned your job either before you leave or while you're in basic. And so very shortly after that, you go to your tech school.
And that's how you got OSI? Was that?
So I started off as an enlisted airman. You can't go straight into OSI. So you have to start somewhere in the Air Force. And my first job was security forces. There was kind of a longer route to get there. I came in with a guaranteed contract to be a SEER specialist, which is it stands for Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape. You teach pilots and special operators and folks going to some high-risk environments. You teach them survival skills. And like I said, I had a guaranteed contract for that job, but once I started to learn a little bit about it, still in basic training, I decided that wasn't the job I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And found myself volunteering to go into security forces. And I didn't think that the law enforcement aspect is what I was really going to be into. But I found a love for law enforcement there that continued on. So that was it was very fortunate.
So what does security forces do? Like what is your job?
Yeah, so security forces in the Air Force, it's kind of dual-hatted between military police and security, right? But that's your ground force element in the Air Force because we don't have an infantry. So who protects air bases? It's security forces, but then you also do the law enforcement mission as well. And because of that, there's a lot of great opportunities in that job. I've got buddies who've gone to Army Airborne School. Because there are certain bases who are dedicated as air-based defense groups, and their mission is, if things were to pop off tomorrow with Iran, after some air battles, one of the first things that would probably happen if we're putting boots on the ground is the Army Rangers are going to go and see some airfields. Well, once they've got it under control, the Army, the 82nd Airborne, whatever, eventually a bunch of security forces guys are going to roll into that air base.
I gotcha.
They're going to build a perimeter, and they're going to hold that perimeter so that the Army can then project outwards and do their job.
That's really interesting you say that because one of the things that Brian and I love about this segment that we've been doing is learning so much because he and I hadn't served, and I learned something each time. And so your pictures that came through, we did the promotion for the show. I was like, who in the Air Force has that much weaponry on them? And, I didn't. Yeah. I never thought about it. You had to secure your own place and you had your own military police. I hadn't thought about that being that part of the Air Force. It's kind of cool.
So
where'd you end up doing your tech school?
That's also at Lackland Air Force Base.
Okay, and then after that, where's your first
duty station? Was Holloman Air Force Base, New Mexico.
Ooh, was that different?
It was very different. I mean, I grew up in the land of the pines, flat. Yeah. Texas wasn't that much different, and for the most part, through basic and tech school, you're kind of confined to San Antonio. So it's a city, but, it's still hot, whatever. I get to New Mexico, and there's mountains there, and I'd never seen mountains before.
Oh, wow.
That was new. But then it's high desert, very different, but I learned to love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's where you're learning your skills that you're going to use in the Air Force?
Well, so you learn all your skills at tech school.
Tech school. So
and when they push you out to your first duty station, you're considered mission ready. You're a 3-level airman, so you have someone doing some on-the-job training with you. You've got some more upgrade training, but You're handed a gun and you're securing stuff day one.
You got a job now.
You got a job now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I am learning this. Like when Trent and I worked together years ago at a place where we did a lot of government facilities. And Bowling Air Force Base was that's probably the only Air Force base I've ever been on. But now that's a totally different.
Yeah, up in the Navy Yard.
Yeah, it's a little cocoon of Department of Defense and everything else. It's like in that whole area. Yeah, that was definitely a learning experience.
Now, you mentioned that you were in high school and you'd already heard about, Iraq and Afghanistan. We've had 9/11 happen. And you're in the police force. Are you thinking that eventually I'm going to go to Afghanistan? You end up going to Afghanistan, right? Is that?
I did, yeah. And for security forces, it was a guarantee unless. So my wife, her and I actually met in tech school. We've been married 17 years now. But her first duty station was Malmstrom Air Force Base, Montana, out in the nuke fields. So she had to get a special clearance and special additional training to guard nuclear warheads. And those people weren't deploying much because it took a special person to do that job.
Yeah.
But if you weren't in the missile field, you were almost guaranteed you were getting a deployment within your first 2-3 years in security forces.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I hit the ground. I think I got to New Mexico. I think it was like March of 2008, and hell, probably by October I was already slotted to go to Iraq.
Oh wow.
And I wound up missing that deployment because my wife was exiting the Air Force and she was pregnant with our first child. We moved quickly. If you didn't pick that one up.
Doing the math.
But I told my chain of command, like, hey, my fiance's moving here. She's pregnant. Baby's due. And they were gracious enough to let me miss that first deployment and see the birth of my oldest. And because of that, I never made it to Iraq. All of my deployments were Afghanistan or elsewhere, but I completely missed out on the Iraq theater of war. Not that I'm sad about it.
Sure.
Iraq sucks, right? But
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, so you're getting your deployment to Afghanistan. Are you aware of what you're going to be doing, or is it just they bring you in and this is life? I mean,
yeah, I'd say I had a really good awareness, and the Air Force, again, during height of the war and during my time, the Air Force had a really unique way of deploying troops because I think most people think of the Army or maybe the Marine Corps when you think about combat deployments, and for the most part, the Army, if you're 1st Battalion, 503rd Airborne, whatever, you and all your buddies are going together. You know what I mean? The whole unit deploys. Whereas in the Air Force, they kind of pick and choose. So they'll send a tasker to a wing, which for us in New Mexico was the 49th Wing, 49th Security Forces Squadron. They'll send a tasker and they say, hey, we need 13 bodies. And you pick 13 bodies from within the squadron and you build them into a package. And then when you go down range, you're joined by 13 bodies from this base and 13 bodies from this base. And it's, because the Air Force is a smaller and leaner force, and, whereas Fort Bragg, for example, if you're talking about the 82nd Airborne, you've got a bunch of different infantry units on that base. So if one leaves, you still got guys left behind to guard the base and respond to contingencies or whatever. If you wiped out the entire 49th Security Forces, there's no more Security Forces members on Holloman Air Force Base.
Gotcha.
We are all they got. So they would call them these, I think, Air Expeditionary Forces, and AEF is what they would build out of all these different bases. So the tasker would come down and they'd say, hey, here's what you're going to be doing on this deployment, whether it was guarding a prison or convoy operations. My first deployment, I hit the jackpot. I got to do what was called a flyaway security team. So in security forces, one of those cool opportunities you have is the Phoenix Raven program. And you go through this school, you learn some combatives, you learn how to deal with all these different situations, and you become like a in-flight security body. You wear a flight suit, you're considered air crew, and you fly all over the world transporting cargo, troops, whatever. But the whole idea behind it is anytime a plane, an Air Force asset, lands outside of an established perimeter, you've got security guys. So I got to do what I call Phoenix Raven Light, or Diet Phoenix Raven, and do flyaway security. So my first deployment, I wore a flight suit with a armored vest, carried an M4, and got to fly basically every country that touches Afghanistan and every air base in Afghanistan to some extent. I got to visit.
So does this include like high ups in the military that are going to different places?
So they'll typically have
generals or anything.
Yeah, like the Secretary of the Air Force has his own personal security detail of OSI agents. In theater, sometimes we would get some of those guys on our planes, but the goal for us was we might fly to Kabul International Airport, be able to get off the plane there, because it's a big military base on one side. Get off the plane there, grab some chow, and then the next place that plane was stopping was the middle of nowhere desert in Afghanistan to resupply the 3rd Special Forces Group who are out there living in caves or whatever, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So when you're landing out in the middle of the desert, there is no security. So me and my partner would be the first ones off the plane. We'd hold security. They could do whatever they were doing, whether it was cargo, passengers, whatever the mission was. The air crews could do that. We had security. The bad part about the job is if the Taliban were to attack that airplane while we're on the ground, the protocol is for the plane to leave. And we're sitting there on the ground.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've got some funny stories about that kind of stuff if y'all want to hear it.
Yeah, of course. That's awesome. That's why we're here.
Yeah, so
doesn't sound funny, but go ahead.
Yeah, so there was, and I'll start with I'll start with a a real world. I don't know, kind of not an intense story, but for me at the time as an 18-year-old kid in Afghanistan, first deployment, it almost got pretty real. But me and my partner, we had parked at this one little strip, and there was a fence next to where the planes parked, and there was an Afghan village right there, and we'd been there. I'd probably been there 30 times in the 7-8 months that I was in Afghanistan. But on this one mission, we could see this guy. There was this green tarp laid over the fence. And we could see this guy squatting down behind it, and he had this huge metal bowl, and he was messing with something. So we're trying to, not be suspicious, but get an eye on what this guy's doing. We're going up to the flight deck of the aircraft, trying to look over the fence that we can't see. And finally, my partner, Corey, he says, "Hey, I think that guy's building an explosive." And I went up, I was the team leader for that mission. So I go up and I talk to the aircraft commander, and I tell him what we think's going on. And he's like, "What do we do?" And I said, "Well, here's the protocol. You guys take off, leave us on the ground, and we'll see what happens." And sure enough, when the plane starts to take off and we see this guy start to get active and he's peeking and he sees us still on the ground. And finally, me and Corey turned and we put our guns on him. And we just started yelling at him, probably, "Hey, what are you doing?" He doesn't understand us anyway, but we're yelling at him. And this dude takes off running. So plane's gone. We get on the radio. We contacted the Army because they did have patrols in the area, and they said they were going to dispatch somebody out. Eventually we got another plane to come in and pick us up, and we found out the next day that they recovered an IED.
Wow.
So it's our guess this guy was just waiting for the plane to take off, and he was going to try to throw it over the fence and try to damage the plane while we were on takeoff or whatever.
I'll tell you what's amazing about that story, first off, when we talk about this, is one of the things I've also learned on the show, how much responsibility an 18-year-old kid has.
Oh, I tell you.
I'm 55 now, and thinking about how much responsibility you just had to diagnose something, go to the pilot of a plane, and then tell him what he should do and what the protocol is, and then go engage. I mean, wow.
Yeah, I know. There's times my wife, I can't unload the dishwasher, and you're only... you're friggin' letting a plane leave while you're standing there. Holy cow!
And you don't realize it in the moment.
Yeah.
You don't realize the value of the training you get in the military, even that young. We had another incident. This one, we flew into an old Russian airstrip. It was in Kunduz, Afghanistan, and this one always sticks out in my head every time I'd fly there because it reminded me of that scene from the movie Gladiator where he's walking through the fields of wheat. It's just golden. There was these golden fields all around. I mean, it was absolutely beautiful. I tell you, if it wasn't for the Taliban, Afghanistan would be great.
Oh wow,
it's so beautiful there.
That's the first time I've ever heard that.
Oh,
no, I see pictures of other, I know y'all seen pictures of Iran in the 1960s.
Yep.
It's a beautiful place, and everybody's enjoying life.
And Kabul, Afghanistan was the same way in the 60s.
My God.
I mean, if you put up a picture of Kabul and New York Broad Street or Broadway or whatever in the 60s, and you'd see like the way the women were dressed, the guys, the cars are driving, you wouldn't know which was which.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So we rolled into Kunduz and we landed on the ground there, and we'd been there a couple times. This time was different. This time there was an old blown out Russian air traffic control tower. And at the top of this tower, they had some sandbags set up, and there were 2 snipers up there. And I'm like, well, this is new. And plane, the engines are still running. I get off the plane, me and my partner, and we're doing our thing. And this guy comes walking out of a hole in the side of this building. He's got a beard down to here, great long hair. You could tell he's full sleeve tattoos, flannel shirt rolled up to his elbows, and some 511 pants. And I'm like, this dude's an operator. You know, so I'm already excited. And he comes walking over and he's like, are you a Raven? And I was like, yeah. I wasn't, but in the moment, I'm not going to say no. And he's like, right on, man. He's like, I was security forces too. And I'm like, oh man, what are you doing now? And he's like, State Department. I'm like, all right, not tracking.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what you're doing here today? And I said, no. And he's like, we're yelling over the engine plane or the plane engines, but he's like, you're picking up the ambassador to Afghanistan. And I'm like, this is cool. Suddenly, one of the snipers cracks off a round, and I'm alert. And I see popping over this hill this F-250, F-350 dually truck, and there's a guy standing in the back, Mexican Federale style, with a machine gun mounted to this cage. And this diesel truck takes off over this hill, and they start going down, and I hear this minigun opening up, and guys come running out of the hole in this building. They've got the ambassador between 2 of his State Department diplomatic security agents, and they're running kind of heads down, and I'm like, we're under attack. You know, I'm amped up, but I don't see any threats. Yeah. And they're like, come on, get on the plane. So we rush onto this dang plane, and we do a hot takeoff. I mean, it's kind of like when you're hot braking, but in a C-130, the whole plane is rattling. They've got the engine spooled up. And when they take the brake off, you fly sideways in your seat, and you're up in the air in no time. And I'm amped. And this guy's sitting next to me, so I take my headset off and I lean over. I'm like, what's going on? And he leans over, cool as a cucumber, and he goes, cows. And I said,
cows?
What? Cows. There's cows on the runway. We're having to clear them off so the ambo doesn't miss his next meeting. They were using sniper fire and machine guns to scare away cows. And I mean, if you want to talk about going from a lemon.
You thought you were in the, and you were.
I thought we were about to get some. The Taliban was coming for us. This guy said, cows.
Oh, man,
yep.
That's incredible.
And that's, honestly, guys, that's, in my experience, that's combat, that's deployments. You know, it's levels, it's highs and lows.
It's chaos.
And sometimes you're all jacked up and you're ready to get after it, and it's just cows on the runway.
Wow.
That's
Holy
wild.
cow.
Yeah.
How long were you in Afghanistan?
So that deployment was typically the Air Force does 6-month rotations. We got extended a little bit, so around 7.5, 8 months for my first deployment.
Oh, so you've been multiple times.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Second time, better, worse, same?
They progressively got worse. Yeah. So second deployment, it was to Saudi Arabia. And we've got a little, or I don't know if we still have it or not, but it was to a compound for American service members that were helping to train the Saudis. You know, so the Saudis buy a lot of military equipment from us, fighter jets, tanks, whatever. And whenever they do that, it comes with a package. And I said, well, you know, we're going to sell, let's say it's a tank. We'll sell you the tank, but we're also going to sell you, you know, training from a couple of tank drivers and then some tank mechanics and the guys who fuel it up. Mm-hmm. And they spend time over there teaching the Saudis or whatever military we're working with on how to use that stuff. So there was a compound there that they lived on. And I was really mad when I got sent there because in my mind, again, it's I'm going here to babysit these families that live on this compound in Saudi Arabia. There's men and women dying in Afghanistan every day, and here I am. You know, we had a pool. You could go to a local restaurant and have a couple drinks and get a steak dinner. But it was actually pretty cool. So when I first got there, before you deploy, actually, you go through that pre-deployment training where you're getting trained up. My first deployment, I went to the Raven School and I learned all that stuff. This one, I went down to Eglin Air Force Base in Florida. We had a program down there at the time called Brave Defender. And you'd live in an austere environment. It's out in the woods. You're living in huts, and you're just wargaming. You're clearing buildings. You're doing patrols. You're doing all this combat-related stuff that falls within the security forces mission, and you're getting trained up. So there was a tech sergeant there who I guess I had impressed. And when we got on the ground, like the second day we were there, I got pulled and they said, "Hey, you're going to be the NCOIC of this gate complex. You're going to have 23 airmen, working for you, and you're responsible for all the foot traffic that comes through, all of the vehicle traffic, and then our main search pit for anyone driving onto the base. They come through you, and you got to search the vehicles." So I was on shift one day, and I get a call down in the search pit. "Hey, Sergeant McCoy, we think we got something." And it turned out there was a vehicle trying to get on base with an IED. So we had to evacuate that area, cordon off the area, call the EOD techs to come in, and I got a medal for that operation. So it was hard towards the end to say I didn't do anything or I didn't contribute because there was a real threat there. And there was another kind of a turning point for my career, because you want it to make rank because you want it to pay, but you never wanted the responsibility. Especially me, I liked being responsible for myself.
You're a doer
and doing the job.
Yeah.
And here I am thrust into this mantle of leadership. Not that big of a deal, but anyway, I think it was an F-16 had gone down in Afghanistan. I remember a plane had crashed, and somehow the tasker came to us in Saudi Arabia, and they said, "Hey, we're going to put together a team of guys to go forward to sit on this plane and secure it until, the Air Force can get a crash recovery crew out there, But there's, when it comes to our fighter jets, there's sensitive equipment in there, and the avionics or the way it works, all this stuff. So they were gonna send a group of guys forward to sit on this thing, so the Iranians couldn't get it, I'm guessing. And so I got picked for that mission. I got to do all the mission planning for it and get everything approved. Never wound up going. They decided, I think they just probably dropped a bomb on the thing. But, up until, the hour before we were supposed to go, I was in charge. I planned it. I picked my team, and it really gave me an opportunity to do some mission planning and see what that would be like. And I enjoyed it. And I thought, this is something that I could do, because everybody in the military can relate. You've got good bosses and bad bosses. And eventually there comes a time where you just got to say, man, I could do this better myself.
Yeah.
And if it means me doing it or working for that guy, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting opportunity.
All right. So did you re-up after your first 4 years, I guess?
I sure did.
Okay.
I think, in between those two deployments, I had to re-up a little bit early because in security forces, there's two different, you call them shred outs. And it's like changing jobs. You got to go to a whole different school, but they still fall under that security forces umbrella. So one of those shreds, your alpha shred, is your canine handlers. So think of a military working dog or a police working dog. You can specialize in that and do that for your career. Then we have a B shred, which is called combat arms. And that job is responsible for all of the weapons training and weapons maintenance across the Air Force. So I got to be a full-time firearms instructor for 3 years. And that was my role when I first went to Saudi Arabia. I got pulled out of probably working in an armory. So in conjunction with that cross train, I needed more retainability in the service. So I think I didn't even make it to the end of my first initial 4-year contract, and I'd already re-upped. Because the goal for me was always 20 years in the Air Force.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you pull the whole 20?
No, I'm actually in the reserves right now.
Okay.
So I did 12 years active and then switched over to the reserves. And
Gotcha.
I'm at 18 right now. But I just re-upped again at Monument Terrace for 3 more years.
Wow.
So I'll retire with 21 years of service.
Did you do it in a ceremony at Monument Terrace?
I did, yeah.
Dude, man, that is freaking awesome.
They loved it.
Yeah. How cool is that? I wish I'd have seen that. How long ago did you do that?
That was 3 weeks ago now. 4 weeks
Man,
ago?
congratulations.
Man, you were probably, that's cool.
It might have been the weekend, the week after you and I had met, Trent.
Oh, that's really
Wow.
cool. Hey, let me ask you this, and you don't have to answer this at all, and I could be completely wrong. When we left Afghanistan, that famous picture of the guys trying to hold on to the plane, the cargo ship that was leaving, I don't know if you have familiarity with that type of flight and that type of plane, but wasn't that an Air Force plane that was leaving? Am I wrong on that?
It was, yeah.
It was an Air Force plane.
I believe those were Air Force C-17s.
Yeah, so would you have been on something like that? And what would you have done with people trying to
Hang on
and come on? What would you have done in that situation?
Right. So that is, part of that role that I talked about, those Phoenix Ravens within the Air Force. They fly around on C-17s. My plane in my first tour was the C-130, which has the propellers.
Yeah.
So C-17's a little bigger than a C-130, and it's got jet engines. But yeah, so they may have had Ravens on that plane securing it.
Yeah.
And if there's guys hanging on, I mean, the biggest thing is keeping people from rushing inside the plane and causing harm. Obviously, the rules on the ground at that time, I'm not sure what directives they had because they were obviously transporting people out. I mean, I've seen pictures of those planes filled with refugees.
Yeah.
But as far as people hanging on the outside, I mean, I think once the plane is buttoned up,
Yeah. It's just on them.
unfortunately, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And if
Wow.
you're going to hang on to the side of an airplane that's taken off and think you're going to make it, that's unfortunate. But
what that always reminded me of, somebody is willing to do that, then stay.
yeah,
I mean, that's all you really need to know about their lifestyle and what they have. If they'd rather do that than stay where they were. That's just amazing to me.
Hey, take me through when you've done your tours or whatever, and you're finished with your, I guess, full time, and now you're in reserves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is that? I mean, can you explain what that looks like as opposed to?
Like when you step away from active duty
Yeah.
into the reserve role,
Yeah.
because you're going to go get a regular civilian job and start your family or build your family a little more, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Right.
Is it similar to what we think National Guards is? You're only
it can
doing
be.
Okay.
It can be. So the reserve program and the Air National Guard exists as well. There's different programs underneath there, and I'll start with you have the AGR positions, which is an Air Guard Reserve, Active Guard Reserve. So you could be a full-time employee of the Air National Guard or the Air Force Reserves and work 365 days a year, just like an active duty member, but you fall underneath that component. So some people do that. Then you have, in my case, your traditional reservist, which would be, when you hear the news on the radio, all it is 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks in the summer.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what a traditional reservist is. My program that I fall under is called the IMA program. So that's the Individual Mobilization Augmentee. And our program, versus being assigned to an Air Reserve base or an Air Reserve unit, I'm assigned to an active duty billet. So somewhere in the Air Force is an active duty guy sitting in a chair, and on paper, I'm the ghost that sits behind him. And if he were to get activated and go forward to deploy, I would then get activated to do his job stateside.
Gotcha.
So the IMA program, for me, it's great because it's very flexible. I do have basically 24 individual reservist days to complete a year. So to me, that equates to essentially a weekend a month. And then I do have a 2-week annual tour over the summer where, I'm activated for that 2 weeks and I go to a base here in the United States and do my job for 2 weeks. But I could choose if I want to do a weekend a month or if I wanted to knock out all 24 of those days in one stretch.
So where is that? Is it in Virginia somewhere?
No, right now I'm assigned to a base in Alabama.
Okay.
Maxwell Air Force Base in Montgomery, Alabama.
So how do you get into Lynchburg? How do you go from Texas to New Mexico to Afghanistan? How do you land
where did you call
How
home?
did you come
Because you said your wife was pregnant.
Yep,
You had your first, so where is home?
I'll lay it out real quick. So
Sure.
first duty station is Holloman Air Force Base.
Yeah.
Deployed to Afghanistan out of there. became a firearms instructor, and they moved me to Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama.
Okay.
Second deployment happens out of there, the one in Saudi Arabia, and then I find the Air Force Office of Special Investigations. So now I have the time and service. I've built up my resume because really when OSI is recruiting, especially enlisted airmen, they're looking for the best of the best. So you've got to work on your resume. You've got to have some deployments, and you've got to be a top performer to get in. But I was recruited, went through the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Glencoe, Georgia, and became an OSI special agent. During that process, I got new orders. So this time it was to Elmendorf Air Force Base in Anchorage, Alaska. Oof. And I remember calling my wife from the Law Enforcement Training Center and telling her, "Hey, babe, we're going to Alaska." And she just broke down crying.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, it was.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
It was my favorite assignment, and she ended up loving it. At the end of our 3 years there, we were trying to extend for another 3.
Okay.
Alaska was just incredible, but and we had talked about moving back there when I left the Air Force, but the winters were just a little bit too long for her. But I think me and the kids all would have went back in a heartbeat. So from Elmendorf, Alaska, I got my 3rd deployment. This time back to Afghanistan, and this was my first deployment as an OSI agent. Oh, wow. So there we're doing counterintelligence and counterterrorism, and we're protecting the base. And the whole mission, there's a lot of different missions in OSI, just like anything. But our mission at a task force level for OSI special agents is what we call keeping the airfield green. If the airfield is in a green status, and that means planes can take off and land. That means bombs can go where they need to go, troops can go where they need to go, supplies, etc. Whenever the Taliban would shoot rockets at our base, or a ground attack was happening, something like that, planes couldn't take off. All movement stopped. People had to shelter and take cover. So our job was to proactively seek out the terrorists who were trying to launch rockets, plan attacks, plan IEDs, all that stuff, and go out and get them. During that deployment, I lost 6 of my teammates to a motorcycle-borne IED.
Oh my gosh!
And that really affected me. So came home, dealt with PTSD, and that kind of changed the trajectory of where I was going and what I want to do with my life. But from that assignment, I also I got forwarded to Pope Air Force Base, or Pope Army Airfield in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and then co-located with a unit on Fort Bragg. So I got to do a lot of really cool stuff. That last assignment, it was underneath the Joint Special Operations Command umbrella. So one of those units that we don't really talk about, right? But I got to work with the best our country has to offer, the best our Air Force has to offer. My teammates are guys who there's been books written and movies made about stuff that some of my teammates have done. So for me, it was like stepping into this world where I was an ant amongst giants. And I just constantly impressed and blessed to be able to stand amongst them and do some of the work we did. But also the imposter syndrome was real for me. It was like, how did I get here and I don't belong here type of thing. But ultimately, I saw that as like the pinnacle of my career.
Sure.
I was doing a lot of really cool stuff. And the thought of going back to the regular Air Force after being in special operations just was not appealing. And because of where I was and the type of work we do, we got a lot of exposure to the FBI's hostage rescue team, which is, it's a full-time tactical team, and I think it's the best in the country as far as their operators go. And you get a lot of guys that come from really high-level units, SEAL teams, high-level Army units, the Air Force, and they join the FBI to go to that team. So I had met some of the guys there, and they convinced me, hey, you've got a background as a special agent already. You do the counter intel stuff. Why don't you join the FBI and, make your way over to us? And so I did part of that. I decided to leave active duty in 2019. I ETS'd, or, my final day on active duty was in June, middle of June. By the middle of July, I was in Quantico at the FBI Academy.
Nice.
And that is what sent me here to Lynchburg.
Okay.
And ultimately, what kept me from going to the FBI's hostage rescue teams, once we landed here, got integrated into this community, me and the family decided we never want to leave.
Yeah.
This area is such a special place.
Well, Quantico is still a couple hours away. How do you was it an office or the FBI office?
So the FBI's main office that covers most of Virginia is Richmond Field Office.
Okay.
And then underneath the Richmond Field Office, you've got satellite offices in multiple cities.
Yeah.
So we had an office here in Lynchburg that I
Great.
was assigned to. And we just loved it.
Great.
Never want to leave.
Yeah.
It's the
That's
thing
awesome.
that people don't realize. It's just like you were talking about with the military, with different things responsibilities that people don't think about. Like when, doing background checks and stuff, an FBI agent does that. So they're located in different regional. There's just so many different duties. You don't think like I do. I think of FBI. Oh, you're doing some special investigation, but it's not everybody, right?
You think people know about the New York field office, and you think DC, but the amount of people. I actually had a buddy I worked with. I think I'll get this story right. He was down in, I think, Pittsylvania County, and he had knocked on this lady's door. I think she was being defrauded by somebody, so he was there to let her know, hey, that's not your boyfriend. That's some guy sitting in Jamaica, and he's stealing all your money, type of thing. Well, he knocked on the door, and he showed her his badge, says, hey, I'm such and such with the FBI. And she said, I'll be right back. She closes the door. Next thing he knows, 2 Pittsylvania County Sheriff's deputies pull up behind him, and they're like, oh, hey, buddy. She said somebody was out here impersonating the FBI.
Oh, wow.
And she could not wrap her mind around the FBI being in Pitt County, Virginia, you know what I mean? Out in the middle of nowhere. But they really do, you can go everywhere. So, that became my career for the next 5.5 years. I'm proud to say I was a part of the FBI and proud of the work that I did there, but ultimately not wanting to move, stress of being in law enforcement for 18 years, or at that time 16 years, 17 years. There was a lot of things that I woke up one morning and said, I don't want to do this anymore.
Sure.
And I've had this side project growing since 2019. So I'm wearing my shirt now, but Index Archery. And I'll go back, Trent, to the training that we talked about early on, because the military does a great job, especially the Air Force. They do a great job giving you the skills you need to do your job. But then there's all this other training you get, and you do it every year. And a lot of times you roll your eyes. And one of those trainings is about mental health and resiliency and suicide awareness and all this stuff. And you're like, oh, this again.
Yeah.
But when I got home from that third deployment to Afghanistan, and I was dealing with the loss to my team, the things from that training started popping up, and I realized that I was in a bad place, and I needed to get some help.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's a much longer story, but ultimately that help started with a bow and arrow.
Okay.
And that bow and arrow made me acknowledge that I was having this problem.
Yeah.
It made me go tell my commander. It made me walk into the mental health group on base and talk to a counselor for the first time. And it led to all these good things and all this growth.
Yeah.
So in 2019, as soon as I graduated Quantico, I decided to launch Index Archery, and with the goal of just letting people know, hey, this worked for me, and it could work for you too. And very quickly introducing people to archery and then watching them spend upwards of $2,000-$3,000 on a complete archery setup made me feel like crap. So I turned it into a nonprofit, and now what we do is we pay for 100% of the equipment that heroes need to get started. So we work with veterans, law enforcement, first responders, and people struggling post-traumatic stress, because they're a hero to us because of what they did for their country, but they're also a hero because they're willing to face their demons and face that storm and do something about their mental health. So it doesn't have to be a service member. It could be an extraordinary civilian who's ready to take their mental health into their own hands. But we pay for all of the equipment they need to get started. We mentor them, and we help them get fully integrated into their local archery community. And so that could be, bow hunting, but it could also be a 3D league, an indoor league, with the goal of just, one, it's your mental health, it's your physical health. We get them outdoors, we get them moving, we get them doing something. And then it's the social wellness aspect too. Yeah. They find a community in that. For a lot of service members, when they leave, they miss that camaraderie.
Yeah.
And they miss, every now and then you got to have that buddy who just calls you an a-hole and you laugh about it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And when you're shooting archery, you find
Trent.
He's been calling me an a-hole for 30 years.
I'm never going to stop.
So for me, the archery community is just this amazing, supportive, mind-blowing community, and that's the biggest gift that I give these guys. They think the bow's cool.
Yeah.
The bow's just the start. When I let you know that this community's out there and you get integrated into it, that's the best thing that I can give somebody.
So I was fortunate when I was a kid, young teenager, my brother and I, my dad introduced us to archery. I don't hunt with it anymore, but as a young kid, it taught me so much. And we were part of the Isaac Walton League. Mm-hmm. We would go to 20-yard shoots every Saturday night, and we would target practice competition, and we would do that. It's funner than bowling. It was just it was so much time. And you just learn so many skills about concentration and focus and confidence in yourself. It was a huge thing as a teenager to be able to do that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really admirable, man. So are you doing this? Do you help nationally? Is it a local group that you're doing this with?
We have what I call ambassadors in multiple states, and right now, a lot of the work we do is one-on-one. The majority of it happens right here around Lynchburg, Virginia. But our long-term goal over the next 4 years now, I hope to build a wellness center here in Central Virginia.
Nice.
And the goal would be my ambassadors, wherever in the country, identify heroes in need. They send them to us for a 5-day intensive retreat. It's going to be archery-centric, but our goal is to introduce them to as many wellness modalities as we can during that 5-day period. And then when you send them back home, they've got a bow in one hand, they've got a couple other tools in this hand, and then the ambassador works them into their local community at that point.
Yeah. Wow.
And I stole the idea. We've got a great psychologist working with us now, Dr. Leah Kaler, but I had met her through the FBI and through a process that I went through. So anytime you're involved in a shooting or a mass casualty event or something like that in the FBI, they send you through a similar program. For me, I went out to Florida and stayed in this really nice hotel, and they had booked out the conference center. And for 4 days, it was just that. You start at 7 in the morning, and it's 30-minute or hour-long blocks where they're introducing you to all these new things, and you're getting time with a therapist. And at the end of the day, on the last 2 days, you kind of choose your own adventure, right? It's, hey, we've got Tai Chi in this room, and we've got grief counseling over here, and we've got yoga here, and massages, and pick a couple things you're interested in, but also pick a couple things you're not interested in.
Oh yeah.
So you get the exposure because you never know. And some of those things for me, one of them was art therapy. I had no interest in art therapy, but man, was it a game changer for me.
Oh.
Because I've been able to take art therapy and translate that into arrow building. So in archery, building your arrows, and now there's these companies that make these fancy wraps that you can put on the end of it.
Yeah.
So a military veteran, Dustin Adams, he's got a business called Adams Precision Archery, and he does all these custom builds, and they're beautiful, and some of them are funky and wacky, and you can really express yourself. But he supplies us with the materials, and I can have a veteran, whatever speaking to them in the moment, focus on some of that trauma, those negative experiences, and pick out your vein color, pick out your wrap color. Let's build this arrow.
Oh.
That's pretty neat.
And now let's go, let's go shoot it at a steel buck, a target made out of steel that's going to blow that sucker up.
Yeah.
And it's that release, right? As you pour that negative energy into that arrow and you build it, and then you go destroy it.
Yeah.
And you get a release from that.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
How long you been doing that? Sorry.
So started mentoring in 2019, official nonprofit in 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you get your funding?
It's all donor driven right now.
Okay.
Well, I can't say that. This year we won our first grant from Virginia Wildlife.
Okay.
So we did win a grant this year, but it's always been donor driven, and we're 100% volunteers. But we are looking for corporate sponsorships. We're looking for more grant opportunities, and building this wellness center is an ambitious goal. It's going to take a lot.
Yeah.
But hopefully, Coca-Cola or somebody will get behind us.
Or hydrogen water, maybe.
Yeah. maybe
You
purified.
look even better, healthier than you did when we started.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So how does somebody get in touch with you? What's the best way for them to reach out?
Yeah, so our website, there's a contact block. So that's endexarchery.org. Endexarchery.org. And that's a military phrase that stands for end of exercise. So endexarchery.org.
Right.
You can also find us on social media, Instagram, Facebook. You can shoot us a DM. We're still small enough that, I'm answering every
Sure.
DM I get.
Cool. All right, you're listening to Life, Liberty, Happiness. We've been talking with Air Force Master Sergeant Jay McCoy. Thank you for being with us today. Before you leave, we always ask one last question. If you could spend 24-hour period with one person, who would it be, and where? Anybody in history, doesn't matter, but where would you spend with them, and who would it be?
Gotta go Jesus.
It's a favorite.
That is a good answer.
Yeah, I think 24 hours is with Jesus in Capernaum or Jerusalem or wherever.
So cool.
Yeah, that'd be something awesome.
We have a drama segment that we get into after you leave here, and that's actually on my list. He's gotten me hooked into starting to watch Chosen.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm in 5th season right now, and today we had lunch. He goes, "Don't tell me anything that's going on."
I want to know.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Well, appreciate you being on the show, and good luck to you. And thanks for all the information. It was terrific.
Oh man, it was fantastic. And I like saying this to others that have done this, that come talk about helping others. You served our country, and you're still serving our country, man. I appreciate everything you're doing. That's cool.
It's an honor.
Yeah, awesome. Good stuff. Good to have you.
Need insurance in Bedford? I'm David Honecker, your local State Farm agent. Whether it's home, auto, or life insurance, we've got you covered with personalized service and great rates. Let us help you protect what matters most with the reliability and trust of State Farm. Call us today at 540-586-8194 or visit our office that is conveniently located at 1232 East Lynchburg Salem Turnpike in Bedford, right beside the Walmart. We are your go-to State Farm agent. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call us today.
CNS Business Services is your local place to get professional services. Payroll, bookkeeping, taxes, notary, and QuickBooks. Everything is done catered to your needs. Set up a consultation today. Visit their new and improved website at csbusinessservices.online or call 540-586-1120. It's nice to be greeted by those who know you by name, and CNS is a huge supporter of local high school athletics. Not only do they serve the community, they also invest in their community. Professional services by professional staff, today, tomorrow, and together. CNS Business Services is located in front of the Y in Suite G. Call 1-540-586-1120. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. Great segment there.
Oh man, I love these things.
Oh man, I learned so much.
That's so cool.
Like the people who tune in are waiting for these action-packed stories. Sometimes you just realize there is so much importance in just serving
Every day.
Like,
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then,
You know what I noticed a common theme is? All of them, every single one we've had so far, have always talked about somebody else having served more.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
I mean, you made up a great point about not being able to unload the dishwasher, right?
yeah,
What I think about is, man, I struggle to get a water line approved.
Right.
Right. And I'm struggling with that. This guy's looking at somebody putting an IED to get together.
holy cow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, man. Well, it's so awesome.
And even a small task, sometimes it's just moving cows, right?
Dude, I was on the edge of my seat. I had a guy come in with it. Yeah. That was awesome.
But, as he's telling the story, it popped in my head. I was like, oh, crap. We do have idiots like Lindsey Graham that fly into zones.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to protect them.
Yeah.
Like, I never would have thought,
I mean, you know what else I learned today? I didn't know the plane takes off without security. Like if it hits the fan, he's got to go and they got to hang back. How'd you like that?
Crazy.
What do we do now?
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
On to drama.
Back to the show.
Look at quick buttons over there.
Man.
I'm not letting y'all talk about me when Emma comes back.
By the way, Emma texted me poor Ginger because of the dog, the cone head. That's why I said the thing about the bumper.
You're an idiot. Couple of good shows I've been watching.
Yeah.
And Woody, let me know if you have seen any of these. Okay. It's not Star Trek or anything like that.
Well, then I'm out.
One of them is called Blind Spot. Have you? Nobody?
I hadn't even heard of it.
No, what's that?
Dude, all right. So I'll tell you real quickly. It's really a neat premise. So the show starts. It's a show. It's had 5 seasons so far. It started back in 2020. There's a girl in a duffel bag in the middle of Times Square. Okay. They don't know it's a girl at the time. They think it's a bomb. So the FBI there, and they're getting ready to unzip this bag, and it starts moving. And this girl unzips herself out of this duffel bag and stands up.
She dressed?
She's completely nude.
Nice. I'm in.
But she is tattooed from head to toe.
I'm still in. I know you wouldn't be. You don't like tattoos, but
so one of the tattoos on her back is Weller, and that's the name of an FBI agent who's in the New York field office. So they take her to the field office, and from that point on, they find out that every tattoo on her body is leading them into some sort of crime or something.
Okay.
And so it's all of that into it's pretty neat. So far I've really enjoyed it.
You know, you triggered a movie that I know that Woody had to have loved. It was called Memento.
Oh, one of my favorites.
Guy Pearce.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
It's the guy that loses his memory every night.
Okay.
So you made me think of it. He writes things on himself to warn him about.
Don't tell me, because I'm wondering if that's what this is. I'm wondering if she's tattooed herself because she has no memory. She doesn't know how she got tattooed.
Well, Memento, he is going to wake up, and he knows he's going to wake up the next day. So he takes Polaroid pictures and he writes things so that he knows. It's like what I do now, because I can't remember anything, so I trigger myself.
He finds notes that says "Don't forget." And he goes, wonder what that was about.
I have done that. I've literally put reminders and wondered what the reminder was.
Like,
Yeah, it's awful.
And the other one is called Countdown. So Blind Spot is on Netflix. Countdown is on Prime.
Okay. I have seen I've been on Prime lately, so I've seen the promos for Countdown. I can't remember what it is, though.
It's sort of I think it happens out in L.A., FBI, same thing, just, sort of a squad that was put together trying to fight crime.
Yeah.
I don't know why I get on these kicks of crime or murder or something like that, but it's crazy. What do you got?
I sort of did the same thing. So it's marketing genius for Amazon to have done 5 races, Amazon Prime, to have done 5 races, because now I know what the other shows are on Amazon. I never go to Prime, never thought about it. Except, it's been a while since Chosen had come out, and it's been a while since I've seen the last season of Chosen. So I knew that was coming out too. But Reacher 3. My mom is a huge Reacher fan.
I am too.
Have you seen the 3rd season?
Did it just come out?
Yes.
Oh, no, I have not.
Oh, it's out now. Dude, there's something about his bad acting that either he's a great bad actor and that's part of his shtick, or he's just a bad actor.
Yeah.
But I am engaged by it.
Yeah.
I think his acting is hilarious. It kind of reminds me of the old Arnold Schwarzenegger with the bad jokes.
Yeah.
Every now and then.
That is what he does. Reacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The season was really good. Have you seen it, Woody?
No, I have not.
Yeah, it's good.
I can't wait.
And then Chosen, I am down to the last episode. I won't tell you anything.
Good.
But it is riveting.
I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah.
Like we do it for Bible study, and I'm getting anxious because like they're off on vacation, blah, 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 and we haven't been able to have Bible study, and I'm tired of waiting.
Like y'all watch it for Bible study?
Yeah. Like we start and stop it during Bible study, and we ask questions, and we actually look in the Bible and try to find where this is.
Okay, so I'm going to say something here, and I'm not going to give it away. It's just how dumb I don't know about the Bible. Okay. And every morning, I call my mom. And I had no idea my mom knew so much about the Bible. But did you know that, of course, Judas was the traitor, right?
Sure.
And we know that. But I had no idea. So sometimes when I'm watching the movie, I don't know if this is the director's interpretation of something or if it's really in the Bible. I don't know. So I said, did you know that Judas actually negotiated, and I think it's Caiaphas, of how much money to turn over Jesus? And she goes, 40 silver coins, or maybe it was 30. I can't remember. I've already watched it and forgot if it's 30 or 40. And I was like, how did you know that? She goes, it's in the Bible.
Yeah. So that is her Bible study.
Yeah. And I'm like an idiot. I was like,
that is what we do. And we try to decipher what's the directors put in and what is actually biblical. And it's so funny. That's why I told you that we're all sitting there as adults and Reagan's watching it and she doesn't have to look at the Bible. Like she's like, yeah, that's not biblical.
Yeah.
Or she'll say, yeah, that's, and it's like, yeah. It's
Well,
just way
I
more
do
knowledge
know,
than
I'm
we
going to
have.
give it credence only because before I ever watched the first episode, Glenn Beck is a really, really religious guy, right?
Yes.
And I remember him interviewing the guy that did Chosen, and he was just amazed at how accurate that they held to the Bible to do the things that they did. So I feel pretty confident I'm watching something true.
Oh, no, I would say 90%, but they obviously,
Oh, sure.
And that doesn't mean they're changing. It's the interpretation of what had to have, something, because obviously the Bible doesn't give you day by day.
Yeah.
So there's some things that happen in between that had to have.
And I appreciate they give Jesus a sense of humor.
Yes.
I literally love that because he says stuff and sometimes he's sarcastic and they don't know is that real or not?
Right.
He goes, of course not.
Exactly.
It's like being here.
All right. On to sports.
It's time for sports.
All right. NASCAR was in Hotlanta.
Yep.
Did you like it?
Loved it.
Yeah, I thought Atlanta just doesn't disappoint. It was amazing to me, Trent. It almost reminded me of the old days where you would see a car that just would get momentum and I don't even know how or why.
Yeah.
But they would fly past 2 or 3 cars.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, what just happened? And then 2 laps later, they're getting passed because they're loose or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it had the old days of NASCAR.
Yeah. Did you see, and I know you're not a fan of his, but man, I love his show because he's so honest about the discussion.
Denny Hamlin?
Denny Hamlin saying that the wreck actually made the better race because it wasn't 40 cars out there doing it, it was 20.
Yeah.
They had more space to be able to do what you just described.
That is true. Yeah. How'd you like the Ty Dillon?
I don't know what happened. I don't know that.
All right, so, it's the in-season challenge.
Oh, okay.
And after the race, he said, I knocked your favorite driver out because he finished.
He finished ahead of Denny Hamlin out. Oh, okay.
In the head-to-head. So, and people were mad about it. Like, he's a jerk. And Denny said, dude, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That right there is hilarious. Like, yeah.
Well, it's hard for me to do an in-season challenge. I'm not sure what it means. How are they doing it?
They're all doing it.
Is it like a
every
bracket?
sport?
No. Are they doing it like a bracket style type thing? Mm-hmm. Okay. So you against another guy and whoever finishes higher.
Yeah, and there's no way anybody had Ty Dillon beating Denny Hamlin.
That's funny.
All right, so we'll have Kevin coming up around 6:40. We'll have him on and we'll talk our picks for last week because he ended up winning. He picked Chase Elliott.
Yep.
So
when you sent me the winner, the cash winner, but he picked Chase Elliott. Yes. What do you do? Bet for him?
Well, yeah, he's in South Carolina. Remember, he can't do it.
Oh, okay.
Well, hopefully, let's keep this quiet. I didn't take any money, so it should be legal.
Right.
Right?
Did you wink?
I didn't take any money. He actually asked. He's like, do I owe you anything? I'm like, no, you do not. All right. NBA Finals recap. OKC wins the title.
Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, it was kind of yawn.
It was anticlimactic after.
Did you say it was 51% decline in ratings?
From last year.
Was it really?
I went back and looked at the ratings.
Wow.
So you can actually see the chart. If you just Google it, and AI now gives you great things to read. I went through, and dude, literally, not only is it half of last year, it's only a quarter of what the 90s had, the number of people watching it.
So when your league is having a problem, and your commissioner comes out on draft night, and he spends the first couple of minutes telling you how great the league is, because we just had the youngest team in the history win, that tells you how bad their league has gotten.
You're fooling yourself.
You're having to promote it because it's so bad.
Yeah.
That ain't good.
I mean, usually I would be excited for a young team coming on, and I am. I'm happy for Oklahoma City.
Sure.
I was for Indiana. I hated that Halliburton got hurt like that. But they're not acknowledging what the problem is.
Which is?
The woke.
Oh yes, no, they're never going to do that.
They're not going
Right.
to acknowledge that LeBron James
Yes.
took their brand
Yes.
and buried it.
Correct.
I mean, not just him, but that whole issue.
No, you're right. I mean, if you go back to when it was in its heyday, your Magic Johnsons, your Larry Birds, your Michael Jordans, those people, they didn't get involved in politics.
Right.
They just played basketball, and it was a rivalry, and they hated each other.
Yeah.
And it was great.
I mean, obviously Kareem Abdul-Jabbar got into it, that kind of thing, but not to the extent of
Correct.
the kneeling, the not coming out for the national anthem.
Correct.
And it wasn't just LeBron; it's everybody else that was doing it too. They buried their brand.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
No, the difference, Trent, is it was off the court. They've now put it on the court.
Yeah.
With the T-shirt.
Oh, that's true.
And you can't. That's why you turn it off. You know,
Yeah.
nah, I'm not doing that.
That's right.
All right, so let's see. Moving on to Cooper Flagg
Yep.
was taken number 1 overall.
Yeah. How about Duke having 3 players in the top 10?
It's crazy.
And Rutgers, how do they have 2 people in the top 4
And
or
didn't-
5?
Yeah.
They didn't even make the tournament, right?
No.
Both those coaches should be fired.
Oh, you're stupid.
If Duke can't win with 3 lottery picks
That's just
and Rutgers can't even make the tournament, psh,
okay.
get out.
I hear you.
Yep.
All right, F1.
F you.
Max, I texted you, or did you watch? And you said, no, don't tell me.
Yeah.
So did you finally watch, and what did you
Yeah, I
think?
texted you later that night.
Yeah, I think
finally got to see it.
I was so mad.
I mean, that guy just drove straight into him in the first turn.
Yeah, it was
and
weird.
And he's
Like,
out.
Yeah, because it wasn't that he was behind him.
Right.
He literally had to pass like 2 or 3 cars to get to him.
That was the Mercedes guy, right?
Yeah.
Antonelli.
Yeah.
I think he got a bonus from Tito.
Probably.
Toto.
So
Yeah.
he's pretty much out now with any chance of winning.
About the only interesting thing now with F1 right now is can Max break through? That's an interesting story. But which McLaren guy is going to be the winner? That seems to be the only thing.
Have you picked a favorite? Would you rather see Piastri or?
I kind of only want Lando only because he's been there longer. But that's the only thing.
I'm rooting for Lando because I feel like.
But he's such a wussy too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't have a care.
Are you Wimbledon watching?
I usually watch the finals and I'll watch Joker.
I kind of have watched it only because I was in Charlottesville at the hotel, so I'm working and I just had the TV on, and I didn't, it's on during the morning, like live,
Yeah.
and it sucked me in because it was an American playing a 5-setter that ended up getting delayed to the next day. And there was an argument at the end. Like, I had never known this. So Wimbledon, you're not allowed to play after 10 p.m. or something.
Because of the neighborhood.
Who knows?
I think that is some of the case. Some of these are ordinances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 45 minutes before they go to both players, and I guess they ask, do you want to wait till tomorrow to finish, or do you want to keep playing and then we stop wherever we stop? And I don't know what happened, but literally you see the American mad, and you read his lips where he goes, then why did you ask? Because apparently they said they were going to postpone it. So later on he said, why are you asking me if you're going to postpone it anyway?
Yeah.
What I said was, we have played a 7-6 in every set, the maximum. And it hasn't taken over 45 minutes to play each set.
Yeah.
So why now are you asking? Why wouldn't we just have we would have finished before?
Yeah.
And so they ended up having to finish it the next day, and he ended up winning.
Oh, okay. Good.
But anyway, it kind of got me hooked. And then I was like, oh, crap, I actually want to watch this.
So that's why our Mount Rushmore is what it is today?
Yes.
Top Wimbledon players?
Yeah, why are you mad about that?
I'm not.
You said.
No, I didn't mean to smirk.
Oh. You do smirk a lot.
I smirk a lot. I'm a smirker.
Smirkers. All right. This is kind of the dead period for sports, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It kind of sucks. We're kind of lulled now.
Yeah.
NBA Finals, NHL, and you're just waiting for college football to start.
It's true. So you got about a month
Yeah.
of no sports. So what could ever fill that void? Like, what would be?
Why wouldn't the UFL try that now?
That's a great point.
I think what happens is everybody just goes on summer vacation and nobody is interested.
I can see that. All right, moving on. What's happening?
It's time for news.
I thought Woody might play that rerun. What's happening? Bow, 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 bow.
God, that's
Remember that old days? I love that.
he ain't got that no mo.
Does he delete?
I'm sure.
I didn't think he's a deleter.
he
He just changes names.
I just changed his name. That's all. I own the sign company.
Yeah.
By the way, we now have a website.
Oh, you need to make a note. Yeah, you need to make an announcement about Media Squatch too.
Yeah.
No longer Grove
I
Street
didn't want to
FM.
interrupt the show.
Go ahead. Woody.
No.
It's what's It's what's happening.
What's happening? It is.
Y'all
big.
y'all have an official website now.
All right, and
That's
what is
big
that?
time. LLHshow.com. It's easy. All the episodes are there. And we're gonna put more stuff on it, but right now, that's the hub.
I would have made it LLH my show.
Oh
Yeah,
god.
that's fine.
That domain was taken.
Of course. Trent. He sabotaged
Trent
me.
bought it.
He went out and bought it.
I'm a little worried about LLH show because I tried to look that up and it was lesbians.
Oh, that was
We
on,
might get some good traffic then.
that was on YouTube.
YouTube,
right?
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to be careful when you look up us on YouTube.
Yep. What do you think the L stood for?
Oh,
Lick.
all right. Anyway, let's get back to it. I love it when our side is winning.
Yes, man, I'm feeling so good right now.
No, I mean, listen, how often have you and I saw Republicans and go, God, man, what are we doing? Like,
Stop being weenies.
yeah, these people are awful.
Yeah.
So now I see clips and I go, oh my God, that guy's great. So check out this guy. He is Republican Wesley Hunt
Love this guy.
on the Bill Maher show. Cut one.
What do you think of Whoopi Goldberg saying it's worse to be a black person in America today than a woman in Iran?
My district in the great state of Texas is actually a white majority district that President Trump would have won by 25 points. As I said, I'm a direct descendant of a slave. My great-great-grandfather was born on a Rosedown plantation. I am literally being judged not by the color of my skin, but by the content of my character. That's the progress because, like, a lot of white people had to vote for me. A lot.
So
I don't even ever want to hear Whoopi Goldberg's conversation about how it's worse to be black in America right now. That's a bit far. And my father, who's 75 years old, he was a man that was in the French quarters that had to go get a sandwich to the back door of the building. And his son is now a United States congressman in a white majority district in Texas as a Republican. That is America. That's America.
Dude,
I'm surprised he got a clap.
did you notice in the clip of the white liberal
Tried to
trying to
interrupt.
tell him what he feels
Yeah.
as a black man in America?
Yeah.
It's just, God, their hypocrisy is...
And first off, the white liberal not letting him talk.
Right.
And to interrupt him like he's wrong
Right.
about his own story.
It's unbelievable,
Yeah.
man. All right.
You know what's crazy is, you know how I say there's always so much stuff that you and I never mix clips. I had that clip.
Oh.
I mean, no, I'm saying it's just
good.
cool. That's how much I love that too. It's so
That's great.
It's what that needs to be talked more because I'm going to play the Whoopi Goldberg thing here in a minute, and it's just amazing the difference.
So oftentimes I wonder what happens to these reporters when they go, how do they become this liberal, right? To literally, instead of just reporting the news or asking a question or whatever, how do you get so entrenched? Where does it go wrong? And so I found this clip of Caitlin Collins. Remember, she was the one that she interviewed Trump, I think in 2016, maybe, or maybe it was when he was. No, she did the debate when they was running against Biden. Terrible. She's got this permanent grin and just she's a nasty person. I think Trump has called her that.
Oh, the one in the white pantsuit.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I found this clip of her when she first started her career. Do you know her first job? The Daily Caller.
I don't know what that is.
Isn't that? I hope I'm right. Isn't that what's
Ben Shapiro is Daily Wire.
Daily Wire? Okay, so what is the Daily Caller?
I don't know.
might be a liberal.
Yeah, there could be.
They probably anyway.
Yeah, I'd like to hear what she
So
said.
she used to do guest segments on different networks, right? You know how they always
Yeah.
have it? Well, guess what? She was on Fox News.
No kidding.
Yes. Not exactly what you would consider liberal. Listen to her own words. Cut 2.
From our nation's capital.
Yeah, that's
Caitlin,
her.
What does that mean? What's George Soros trying to do with the immigration crisis?
Good morning. Okay, so George Soros is this foreign-born left-wing guy who essentially wants to change the nature of our country. And in this data dump, one of the memos was about the refugee crisis. And they made 3 points. They think that they've been successful at influencing immigration policy across the world. They think that the refugee crisis is an opportunity to continue doing so. And they think the refugee crisis is the new normal. And George Soros is this guy who is a staunch advocate for open borders. He wants people to be able to go wherever they want, whenever they want, for whatever reason. And for him, he sees this immigration policy, this crisis, as a vehicle to further his immigration agenda.
That's amazing.
And appropriate at this point in time.
Yeah.
But I'm like, what happened? Like, where did it go wrong?
I think they sell their souls to whoever their bosses are. And I think she knows who is paying her when she's doing those things. Now, it's interesting because Tucker started on MSNBC.
That's right.
Which is kind of crazy. And he spent time on CNN, which Glenn Beck did as well.
Right.
But they didn't make it because they didn't succumb to those to the new regimes that took ownership. Yep.
All right.
That's interesting.
So what drives me nuts about politics is the fakeness of some of it, right?
Yes, 100%. Yes.
And this one I found of AOC, better known as, what was her real name? Sally, I think? No.
She wasn't Alex Ocasio-Cortez?
Oh, no. No. You'll see.
Okay.
All right, cut 3.
I speak like a girl from the block.
And again.
I grew up first generation in the Bronx.
And again.
Girls from the Bronx are welcome everywhere.
In fact, AOC just pulled the Bronx girl card again this week, responding to President Trump, saying she would eat a Queens boy like Donald Trump for breakfast.
I don't think he knows how to deal with a girl from the Bronx.
Something's very wrong here. What functional adult repeats where they're from this often? Someone who's lying. And here's the dirty little secret. AOC is not actually from the Bronx.
I like Benny.
AOC was an infant. Her family has lived in a beautiful little hamlet called Yorktown Heights. This little town is the opposite of AOC's gritty, downtrodden, working class persona. It's clean and beautiful and safe. The neighborhood that AOC grew up in is well off, leafy and manicured. AOC went to elementary, middle, and high school here. She graduated from Yorktown High, where she went by the name Sandy.
Shut up.
And then she graduated Boston University with an economics degree. Since AOC is about to run for president, we thought it would be important to investigate.
Isn't that crazy?
That is wild.
How is this not, like, how do people not know this?
How has she gotten this long? I love Benny Johnson. He does great reporting.
But it's like, are you serious right now?
That is incredible. Unbelievable.
Brought to you here on Life, Liberty, Happiness.
The footage of him walking around the pretty park is the best.
Exactly.
Like,
yes. It's leafy. I like it the way he describes it. Oh,
is there nothing the Dems won't do?
No. I mean, you go from that to what's Pocahontas.
Like, I mean, she will be the leader for the next 30 years of the Dems. A, she's smoking.
Right.
I would vote for her. Her against JD, I'd have a hard time.
Like, there was a time I would say, you're crazy, right?
Yeah.
There's no way. But then, she's pretty dumb when you hear her talk.
Yeah.
But look what we just had, and they got 70-some million.
She's more polished than
way more
Kamala.
Yes.
She could answer a question. I mean,
Correct.
whether or not she's honest about it.
Right.
You know,
we've been to the border.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I haven't been to Europe either. Yeah, man.
So, all right. Big, beautiful bill.
Yeah.
Passed the Senate. Now it's in the House.
Yeah.
I heard that, I think Chip Roy described it just before we went on air.
Yeah.
He was being summoned.
Yeah.
To the office.
Who's the guy in Tennessee that we love?
Oh, yeah.
Hincliffe or something like that.
Oh.
Hitchcliff.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I know.
He did the same thing.
Yeah.
He's also been summoned. And he said, I think I'm going to the wood shack.
Yeah.
Like they're going to whip me.
Well, listen,
Hey, politics is nasty. And
But this is what it's supposed to look
it's
like.
It's exactly what it's supposed to look like. That's correct.
Like somebody was in, listen, I don't like her, Markowski, but somebody was in her face asking her, about them putting in millions of dollars for her district or something at the tail end. That's what's supposed to happen.
They're supposed to represent the people they represent.
All right. So let me ask you a question. Have you gotten off 460 onto the road that carries you now over to
81?
No, Graves Mill. Not Graves Mill, over to what's that road? Mayflower.
Okay. Yeah.
That interchange now.
Candler's Mountain interchange.
The new one that comes over to Mayflower with the roundabouts.
Oh yeah, Oddfellows Road.
Oddfellows, there you go. Well, it's named.
Yeah. For Steve Newman.
You're right.
Right.
Well, it did get named without money.
That's right.
So I'm saying that's your job.
That is what they're supposed to do.
Correct. So I never look at, they always
As long as it's not obscene pork.
Correct.
That's the stuff that's, Doge related.
So to get her vote, they had to do it.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. So we'll see what gets done. Everybody has a price.
Yeah.
Except for Rand Paul.
Thomas Massey is not going to do it either.
Yeah. And listen, while I love both of those, here's what I'll tell you.
I love them.
You can't just say no forever and not have some sort of solution.
Rand has.
I know.
Rand has provided what the solution would be.
Which is?
Don't give me more debt.
Okay, but how do you
take out the more debt? Go back to 2021 spending.
Okay.
Just don't give me more debt. That's how easy it is. So,
nice.
And they haven't done it. However, I will say about the big, beautiful bill, what I always come down to, I'm rooting for Chip Roy. I'm rooting for Thomas Massey. I'm rooting for Rand Paul because that's how I think. We should not be spending more.
Sure.
But when I also love Trump and Bissett, and Bissett goes on and says, hey, if we can get 4% growth, this deficit is actually a surplus.
Yep.
So I'm going to lean to the people that have been right every time so far.
That's right.
So I hope he wins.
All right. One last thing.
Yeah.
The Sean Ryan show had a guest on recently, and I'm trying to think of her name real quick. Natasha or something like. Anyway, you got to be careful, Woody, when you listen to these shows.
Yeah.
Because they will ruin you.
Yeah.
And she has ruined me because she's literally telling about the Mexican cartel, and it's everything I've seen in movies. Like they're now taking farms in Canada and basically moving their fentanyl operations through Canada because the southern border is closed. And it just everything, it just doesn't seem real to me that this stuff happens. But it is real. And like, I don't know. It's scary. It is so scary. Like she told a story about in Mexico, one of the biggest lucrative things is avocados, right? Well, you have 5 generations of farmers that have built these avocado farms, right? So she said it is not uncommon for a cartel just to walk right in the front door and say, either you're going to give me 80% of your revenue, not profits, revenue, or we'll just kill you. And you're done. Like there's no, what's your recourse? You're going to go talk to the local
I did see
authority?
clips of that where they've said that the cartel has started diversifying instead of just drug running.
Oh, the oil and gas blew my mind.
Yeah.
And Sean Ryan brought up a great point. Why not just do that? If it's creating $3 billion a year for you to steal oil and gas. So what they're doing, Woody?
Yeah.
They'll find a gas pipeline and find a small town like Pamplin, Virginia, right? There's nothing there. And they'll tap into the oil line with people who know nothing about construction. And they'll start stealing that and they'll bring it to America to refineries, and the refineries will take it because it's cheaper, and then they'll refine it and sell it.
Yeah.
Well, Sean said, nobody gets hurt. Why not do that instead of drugs? We'll leave you alone if you do that. And she just said they're diversifying, like you said.
Yeah.
It's just
how come they can't just do it honest business? Why do they got to steal?
I agree.
They seem like good hustlers. You know, they hustle.
Go buy land, build your own farm.
Yeah. Farm real
You got
stuff.
enough money, just go do it honestly.
I don't know.
Launder it.
All right.
Yeah.
On to win-win-win.
We're going to win, and we're going to make America great again.
All right. Cut 4.
We also have a lot of bad people that have been here for a long time. People that whack people over the head with a baseball bat from behind when they're not looking and kill them. People that knife you when you're walking down the street. They're not new to our country. They're old to our country. Many of them were born in our country. I think we ought to get them the hell out of here, too. You want to know the truth. So maybe that'll be the next job that we'll work on together. But I think getting them out, we forget about them. We had some bad accidents in New York, and they're not accidents.
I just love when he speaks plain.
Yeah.
The one with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
Oh, me.
That's Gator Alcatraz.
Yep. That's it. That's all I got for what's happening. Moving on.
Hey, Woody, the way we've been doing it too, I don't know if you know this, but Carolina Kevin when he calls, we just
we
jump
go
him
into
in.
it.
We just
put him in.
We,
Man, y'all changed so much since I
have to go with the
we're
flow.
growing. We're growing.
You're growing, man. I don't even see a bumper in here.
Nope, don't need
for
one.
Have at it.
There's no music in between because we don't want to because we were told if we put music in between the episodes, we can't get on YouTube.
That is true.
So we're growing.
Y'all did listen. That's great.
We do try to listen.
Yeah.
Okay.
I still, because of you today, drew the middle finger on the
I appreciate that
program.
I really appreciate that.
I don't do that
feel
for Emma.
included. Oh, thanks.
All right. Today's Mount Rushmore is in honor of Wimbledon.
Yep.
Tennis players. So, Woody, since you don't watch tennis, we'll skip you.
Yeah, what's tennis?
This is the top Wimbledon players.
Yeah.
Not just tennis.
Correct.
They have to be.
I just remember growing up as a kid watching these matches.
Yeah.
And so my Mount Rushmore of Wimbledon tennis players is Ivan Lendl.
Hated him.
God, I liked him.
Oh, the foreigner that kept beating John McEnroe.
I
This
know.
would piss me off at the end of John's career. John could not get past him. Oh,
I loved Ivan Lendl.
Yeah.
Pete Sampras.
Pete Sampras was great power, but I never really considered him a great. He won a lot of tournaments. Don't get me wrong, but he did it because of the power. He was kind of that first real big power hitter guy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Roger Federer.
Yeah. Artistic. Yep.
Novak Djokovic.
He's on my list for sure.
And then my extra was Jimmy Connors.
He's your fifth guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's who I made. I think he was I don't know if he was my fifth or not, but I did have him in my list too. I love Wimbledon.
Yeah.
For me, my first head is Joker.
Okay.
And I think he's one of those guys, obviously, you could do the Mount Rushmore of any tennis tournament, and he would be in the Mount Rushmore. So, you know how you have Nadal that might be good, or Federer is good at Wimbledon, but Joker's been good at all of them. My number 2 is McEnroe. You didn't have McEnroe on your list.
I did not for Wimbledon. I wasn't sure how good he was there because I remember him losing so much to Ivan Lendl.
Yeah. Well, my third guy was because you can't have John McEnroe without Jimmy Connors. Those two really went at it a lot.
Yeah.
And because of Wimbledon, Boris Becker.
Oh, Boris Becker, yeah.
He's the one I ended up putting on my list. And my trump head, man, I debated because I love Michael Chang, but Michael Chang was more of a French Open guy.
Yeah.
He was my favorite underrated player because the dude he was kind of like Steph Curry. The dude could just play all over the place.
Yeah.
And you couldn't get past him, but he didn't win enough. And Andy Roddick was a favorite American, but I went with number 5 was Andre Agassi.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I know there's other guys that won more times.
That's why I was Sampras.
But these are my favorite guys to watch.
I remember Sampras winning, but I just looked it up. He won 7 Wimbledon titles.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
One of my favorite plays was not a play, was back in the day. It was a fault. But it was Pete Sampras. And he hit it 140 miles an hour, let's say.
Yeah.
135 for sure. It was a fault. And Andre Agassi was so good at returning. Remember, that was his forte.
Yeah.
It was long on the line. And the thing's coming 130 miles an hour. Agassi would take his racket and instead of hitting it back, would hear that it was fault and catch it.
Oh, that's incredible.
Like he would take his racket and just catch it and then give the ball to the ball boy.
I mean,
That was incredible.
Well, you mentioned the tennis match that I told you I was watching the other morning with the guy from America.
Who was it?
Oh, God, I can't remember his name.
Okay.
You would know him. He's like number 3 in the world or something.
Okay.
But he was almost got upset because it went 5 sets. But
TFO is...
No, it's not him. He's got a sort of an attitude. He's a white kid.
Ben Shelton.
Nope.
I don't know.
Anyway, so the big play or point in the match was the guy he was facing in the first round, while not a great player, is the best service player in tennis. He hits 158.
Oh, my God.
Well, he hit 158. It broke a record. And it was at that player's chest, and he was able to return it for a winner.
Oh, good grief.
And he said that was kind of the turning, like the guy said, that was kind of an amazing, and he laughed and he goes, that's why I don't like serving body. And he said, I argue with my coaches over that. Serving body is not a winner. And he said he served it right at my chest, and guess what? I returned it.
So that's actually what Andre Agassi used to get in trouble for, was during play, he would hit it at you.
Right.
And that's like a no-no. It's like a dirty play. He used to get in trouble for that. Yep.
All right. Is Kevin on yet? All right, good. We'll go to this quickly because Trent and I had talked about a segment of comments or things that we've read during the week, whether it be Facebook.
I came up with a name for it.
Good.
Liberal Tears.
Liberal Tears is perfect.
We're going to come up with a little segment, Liberal Tears. And it is so easy that we just find one of our liberal friends.
Dude, it's amazing.
It doesn't take me 5 seconds to go to the person and see what his latest post is.
So there was a couple.
You got one?
Yeah. So there was a couple on Facebook. There was one about the Lynchburg Library closing that I could have done 1,000 comments on. The people were just like, it used to drive me nuts, like when Logan had his elementary school closed.
Yeah.
All the people that showed up to try to keep it from closing. And I looked at my wife and I said, half of these people have never been inside that school.
I know. It's in the paper. It's time to be mad about something.
So, but what got me was the reaction to the UVA president.
Oh my God!
Resigning, right?
Yeah.
As they write, forced to leave.
Yeah.
The Trump administration came down with handcuffs. What they didn't tell you was he refused to resign. Yeah. The board asked him to.
Yeah.
Why? Because the Department of Defense said, hey, or Department of Education, you're violating the law.
Right.
By the way, they don't like to tell you Trump violates the law. What about when your guy violates the law?
That's right.
So anyway.
By the way, do you know how many years he had left on his contract? 1.
Oh, Jesus.
He never. I mean, come on, man. You really sacrificed yourself there.
All right, Kevin, what do you think about this issue?
I'm just listening to y'all.
Well, quickly, let me finish up mine. So,
we're doing liberal tears.
We're doing liberal tears, Kevin. This is things we've read on the internet of liberals complaining. So they're mad about the reaction to the UVA president resigning. One of the comments was Thomas Jefferson would be appalled.
He was really into diversity, equity, and inclusion.
There's nothing. When it came
he might have been an inclusion.
Yeah, and his home life. And the other one is the king got his revenge.
Oh, there you go.
And I mean, this just.
Which, by the way, elections have consequences because do you know who helped swing the votes on the board for UVA? Because it's a public school. Governor Youngkin appointed 3 new board members.
Oh, look at there.
There you go.
Interesting.
So that's why voting matters.
By the way, he wasn't the only president that resigned. There was another one that resigned too, right?
Of a college?
Virginia Military Institute.
Oh, yeah. All right. He wouldn't give up the DEI stuff either. The board got rid of him. Yeah. Maybe we can get Stonewall Jackson's name back on the actual stuff since he was a professor there.
Stonewall would be appalled.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
All right, Kevin.
You want my liberal tier?
Yes. Let's hear Trent's liberal tier.
Okay, so I just went back to for this segment, I just go to one of 2 people that I know is going to make a post. And his last post was a repost of Pete Buttigieg.
Oh, God.
He says, it shouldn't be lost that just today, Senate Republicans have voted to close nursing homes, close rural hospitals, cut food stamp benefits for children and veterans. Is that all they got?
That's it.
I mean, the same old playbook. Mm-hmm. Come on, man.
There's a clip I should have had for the show today of a Republican, a black old man Republican, and he's singing, "I still get my Social Security check today." Like, it's so stupid what they say.
Yeah.
It's just lies.
Don't you know that in the next 6 months, they're going to try to find the families that don't have their check that they used to have.
How do they find these people?
I know, of course.
It's crazy.
Yep.
Kevin, you have any liberal friends of yours?
Yeah, George C. Marshall, George Patton, and Randolph Tate, VMI. They my old homies back in the day.
Well, do you have any liberal friends that complain?
Oh, no, I don't get mixed up in all that.
Oh, God. That's hilarious.
Well, how you been?
I'm too blessed to be stressed, so I ain't worried about it too much.
Good pick for the race.
Yeah.
Saturday night with old Chase, the hometown hero.
Yeah, I knew he was going to pull one out one day, but
yeah, it didn't pay a lot, but
got 3.
It did pay.
Yep.
I got three good ones coming up.
All right. So what do you got for the Chicago race?
Oh, we got Chicago. Yeah.
Yep. We got the road course, actual street course, I guess you'd call it.
Who you got, Kevin?
I'm actually my 3 drivers are gonna be Bush, Gibbs, and Stenhouse.
Bush, Gibbs, and Stenhouse.
Dude, I thought I had the pick last weekend. Stenhouse was leading with 6 laps to go. I was like, yes. And he ended up finishing 6th.
All right, Bush. All right, so hold on, Kevin, because I got to do this for you. So you got Ty Gibbs. Man, he's actually a favorite.
That's hard to believe.
So he pays $60 if you win.
On a $5 bet, right?
Stenhouse, yep. Stenhouse is, by the way, we are on our FanDuel app. If FanDuel listens to the show. Hey, can you tag FanDuel too?
Yeah, we'll tag him.
Bush, Stenhouse, and who?
He's got Gibbs. Bush, Gibbs, and Stenhouse.
So we're going Kyle Busch again, right?
He's got to come through at some point.
Well, maybe. I don't know. It's been a couple of years, right?
Yep.
Ooh, he pays $100.
Well, look how much longer it was for Elliott to win. What was it, 60 races?
Was it really?
Oh, guys, if I can tell y'all anything, and I know you know more about racing than I do, but the race was on TNT, right?
Yes.
And I told you I was confused because I asked you about it, but I was on something that said it was going to be on Max.
Yeah.
Well, that's HBO Max.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see, well, what is Max doing? And I looked, and you can pick any car, and I think maybe Prime did this too, I'm not sure. You can pick the car, and you ride with the car. And the only thing you do is they're on the bumper cam, the in-car camera, and then the spoiler.
Yeah.
And they keep changing based on what's more exciting, and you just listen to him and the spotter. And I went back and watched the last 10 laps of that. They stay with him while he does the burnout.
Oh, wow.
It was cool. You can hear him pound the top of the roof when he got out of the car. It was so cool to go watch that.
So here's what angers me about that.
Okay.
I have HBO Max and one other that I pay for.
Yeah.
MGM, I think it's called.
Right.
But when but when I click on that you're talking about, it tells me to subscribe.
Oh, really?
But if I go up to subscriptions, it tells me I have Max, HBO, because that's how I watch The Sopranos.
Yeah. That's weird. Something must have held your mouse wrong. Maybe you had the wrong race.
No,
you know
I've
how
gone
sometimes
back
we
and
get wrong.
forth and tried to do it numerous times. It makes me mad because I wanted to do that.
It is fun to watch. You don't get to hear the announcers, which is nice too. You can just hear the spotter, and the spotter for Chase Elliott was great.
So who do you have this week, Trent?
I'm going to go SVG.
Okay.
I'm going to go Busher.
Okay.
And let me find a long shot guy.
SVG, Busher, and
Hoy LaJoy.
I will say this: Busher and Keselowski are coming on. Their cars are good now every week.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. They need a kind of a pick me up. Trying to find somebody down low that's actually decent. I don't know. Who do you have?
All right, so my picks this week are SVG, Alex Bowman, and Justin Haley.
Bowman did good there at one time, right?
He won last year.
And Haley?
Yes. And do you remember Haley was the one battling SVG the first year?
Yes.
So I'm hoping that happens again.
Did you say Haley or Bowman?
Justin Haley, Alex Bowman, and SVG.
I don't remember Justin Haley battling SVG.
Oh, SVG had to pass him on the last couple of laps.
Oh, I thought that was Bowman. I don't know.
Last year was Bowman when he won.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember SVG and Busher going at it during the Xfinity race at a road course.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the best ones I've ever seen. I'm going to go, my third guy is going to be Daniel Suarez. I think the announcement that he's leaving, it's going to be one of those stories where he has to try to win again.
Oh, boy.
Yep.
Walk off.
Yep.
How the...
That's what happened. Wood brothers.
That's
they
true.
Did the same thing. He did a walk off.
Yeah.
Now, you know how many consecutive years they used to have a cracker 400 down at Daytona?
I know.
Don't get us.
I missed that. I'm glad you brought that up. It really ticks me off that they're in Chicago and not Daytona.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's mean. Rude to us, you know?
Yeah. Next year they're talking about doing a street race in San Diego or something, I think.
I don't mind doing the races, but don't do more road courses and still do the old road courses.
No, I don't mind the street races. Like I told you, if they did that in Nashville,
it's kind of cool. Yep.
Nashville is cool. I don't like the road courses. You're right, but the street courses are neat, and I don't mind them moving it to San Diego. But don't do it when it was our whole lifetime. You watched the Firecracker 400.
I know, and that's Americana. I mean. That's the point.
Yes.
That's the great American track.
God.
You watch what I tell you, in 5 years, they're going to have the great American race from Daytona somewhere else.
Oh, don't say that. That'll sink now.
You mean the one to start the year?
Yeah, no way.
I'd cry.
You're stupid.
Well, I'm going to tell you, look how much done changed, and you thought, oh, that'll never happen, and look what's done happened, everything.
I mean, Brian said it. Brian said that. I'm not going to disagree with you. I would be shocked, but I'm not going to disagree with you. Everything is different now, and it's like it's almost done out of spite.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You be honest with me now. When you were in high school in the 1980s, if I come up to you and said, Trent, man, don't worry about rooting for them Redskins, because they ain't going to be Redskins one year. They're going to be the Commanders. You would have looked at me and been like, you're an idiot.
You're exactly right.
You are right about that. But
I mean,
Daytona,
seriously.
come on.
I mean, I'm being serious. But y'all are saying
Not y'all.
I mean, you're saying things that can't happen. I'm just telling you, look at what has transpired over the years that we do.
All it takes is the right owner.
Do you know the first day of hunting season where we went to high school closed? They closed the high school up for the first day of hunting season.
Yeah. Still do in Highland County.
Do they really?
Mm-hmm. First 2 days is
that's right.
No school because boys weren't going to school.
I'm just saying there's a lot of stuff that people think, oh, no, that'll never happen. I mean, look at what's going on this day. I
get that, but you're mixing sensationalism with, I mean, that is their biggest net rating of the year. They're going to go away from that.
I would just agree with Kevin. Never say never.
I never say never, but that's
it would be a huge thing. But it would be somebody that owns the track and wants his track to be the first of the year or something like that. It would be something dumb.
And what would you say if they all of a sudden come up and announce, hey, guess what? We're wanting the Great American Race to be at Talladega.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right.
Nah.
I mean, you would not have convinced me up until 5 years ago that they would never run the Firecracker 400 on Saturday night at Daytona.
It's crazy.
You don't do this to us. That's absurd. I agree with you.
Did you see where Dodge is back in racing?
Nor do you do the Redskins. You don't do them that way.
Did you see where Dodge is back in racing?
That's a good thing. Mm-hmm. Are they going to race the Challenger or the Charger?
It's
probably the Charger.
It's in Truck Series, so I guess it's the.
Oh, it's not
Ram.
Oh, okay. So they're not NASCAR cars next generation.
Just truck right now.
Oh, okay.
But they said they want to get back into NASCAR. So
okay. I wish they would do the Challenger. I think that's the baddest of the muscle cars that America makes. I think the Charger does look good, but I think the Challenger, it still gets my eye when somebody goes out buying a Hellcat.
I agree. What is this? Sounded like a sick cat.
Is that Boots?
Oh, God.
I'm glad to hear that Woody was online or somewhere near y'all. I hadn't heard his voice in a while, so I just like to say shout out to Woody. Shout out to Woody.
Did you miss me, Kevin? He's like, no, not really.
Yeah, because you're the nucleus down there in Bedford County.
Nucleus. What do you got?
The nucleus, and I saw the big announcement where you're going to be doing coming up. What is it? The 4th of July festivities? Ain't you going to be?
He does do fireworks.
Broadcasting live.
Yeah, we're streaming them tomorrow night. Best fireworks around.
How about the guy in South Carolina promoting something here in Bedford?
There you go. Watch it live. If you're in South Carolina, you can watch them live in the app.
Wait a minute. Aren't you coming in town, Kevin?
Yeah, I'll be coming into town, coming up there to see you.
Signing autographs? Where are you going to be at? You going to be signing autographs for people?
Shooting fireworks.
You can find him on the side.
Signed up for it.
Was Carolina Kevin? Is he Kevin coming to hang with you or hang with Dylan? Or
Do you know that they're legal down here? So I can bring up there to Virginia a display of fireworks that'll
display.
It's pretty good.
What the hell's a display of fireworks? Oh God!
Is that bootlegging?
They got 70% off. So I mean, hey.
Are you? When are you coming in?
If it's late tomorrow night, it just depends on what's going on here with these funerals. They doing construction. Remember, Trent, I told you about the roundabout?
Yeah.
All right.
So
answer the question.
Well, I'm not going to get into that right now. It's either going to be late tomorrow night or either Friday morning.
Okay. All right. I saw a comedian the other day that made me think of Kevin. And he was talking to the audience and he goes,
Dave Chappelle?
No. He said, this is always it's always bothered me since I was a little kid. I have never heard of nor seen a new cemetery. Every cemetery is always an old cemetery.
True. When do you start one?
As many years as you've been in business, Trent.
Yeah.
Have you ever designed a cemetery?
Nope. You got to start with one.
So
how do you start it?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Where is Kevin? And when's the last time you've heard of a new cemetery?
Well, I mean, I've heard of expanding cemeteries,
correct,
but not opening a
Well, they're expanding every time somebody gets buried.
That's what I'm saying. It's not like that slowed down.
Yeah.
There's still millions of people dying.
Right.
That's a good point. How do we start one?
What's happening? what's happening is the baby boomers are going to be passing away, and once that's done, there's not going to be there's not really going to be
death.
I guess I should say people are transitioning from traditional burial to cremation.
So you're saying we shouldn't invest into a cemetery?
Still believe in traditionally buried. Now, the next 10 years, it's going to be unprecedented because you're going to have, we've seen an uptick in burials by at least 15%, 17%, because the baby boomers still believe in traditional burials, and they still got to pass away the next 10 years.
I wonder if Brad's got any room in his yard.
You can't do family cemeteries anymore.
Cremation.
You can't start one?
No.
You got to zone it? Get it rezoned?
No, you can't even do that. That's if you pay attention when you go out past Somerset.
Yeah.
That, what's the guy's name that owns all that land back there that passed away? Strubant's.
Okay.
If you'll notice, his mausoleum is by the church because they would not allow him to be buried on his property.
Ow.
Yeah, because it has something to do with a law that was passed because you can't pass that down anymore to other people to have to maintain. I'm serious.
Correct, because you'd have to disclose it whenever you're selling a piece of property that, hey, there's a cemetery or a burial on your property, and people may not purchase that property because of that reason. It
over my dead body.
It knocks the value there.
So anyway,
and that comes to the point of what I'm about to say, and then I'm gonna get off. Well, what Trent just said.
All right.
What?
So we just heard news down here in South Carolina that the federal authorities ruled that you can't be prescribed medical marijuana if you're taking laxatives. Apparently, they want you to either shit or get off the pot.
Is that it?
He made us wait on it. He's such an idiot.
If I get some free time this weekend, I'd like to come by and see the old KC.
Yeah.
CK.
CK. All right. Gosh, we still got a whole segment.
I know. What happens is we have these veterans, and the stories are so good. I'm okay if we don't want to do it. I know.
No, go ahead. I got nothing to do.
Yeah, but Woody's got the late night.
He doesn't care about me, Trent. It's fine.
I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it if you got.
No, I'm here. Let's do it. Look, it's like old times.
Come on.
I don't have a bumper though.
Yeah, you do. It's called a have at it.
Wait a minute. Oh, are you ready?
Yep.
I just got three things to say. God bless our troops.
It's my show.
God bless America. And gentlemen, start your
All right, I'll go through these fast as I can, Woody. All right. Hey, by the way, I wanted to say it earlier too. I'm already backing up a little bit, but I wanted to give a shout out. I meant to do it when you did What's Happening, but last night I was at a town hall and we had. In fact, Woody was here. Do you remember Jacqueline Timmer?
Yeah.
We had her on the city council.
Yeah.
Okay, she's a freshman city council person. She had a town hall meeting last night, and she's had 2 to 3 very tough votes that she's had to do that people are upset about. So she wanted to have a town hall meeting to defend herself, essentially.
Yeah.
And so she asked me to come because she had voted on one of our projects, for one of our projects. And man, what a talent.
She is.
Okay, so our vice mayor was there. His name is Kurt Deemer. He did a prayer at the end of the meeting. They did one before, and he did one at the end of the meeting. And he said something to the effect, just paraphrasing, thanking God to bring such an intelligent mind to the city of Lynchburg. Man, I'm telling you, it was the perfect prayer because it was exactly right. Shout out to her. It was so refreshing to see a young person have so much care with so much data that she put a lot of into her vote. So I just wanted to shout that out.
I'm only smiling and laughing.
Yeah.
Because again, I love to read comments and the whole library closing. So one of the comments that I stumbled upon was they have nicknamed Jacqueline Skimmer.
Oh my God!
And it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Because in all honesty, I was on council here in Bedford. If a developer came to get a project done, nobody is getting paid by a developer. Let me just enlighten the people of Lynchburg.
Yeah.
We ain't that rich.
Right.
You go to Northern Virginia somewhere, like I don't think people here understand this. To develop in Northern Virginia, you have to agree as a developer to pay for part of the schooling that has to be built. Like these are requirements. And it's like, we think what we do here is big development. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Ain't nobody getting paid under the table.
Well, so what they're saying is because donations were made towards Jacqueline, that she had such a beautiful answer that last night. So, she was accused of being an outsider because the monies that she was getting, this is while she's campaigning.
Of course.
So now that she's making votes, now she's an insider because someone has given her money. She had such a beautiful answer that getting donations you do not have to, what do they call it, where you recuse yourself from a vote?
Oh, yes.
She said because first off, you donate to the people that you think like you do, right?
Yes.
So of course you're going to donate, but that doesn't mean you can't do business.
Yeah.
So she said, if we use that as the model, we would never get a quorum.
Correct.
Because people donate to a bunch of different people.
Oh, sure.
And they don't want to know what the facts were. The vote was 5-2 for this particular vote.
Yes.
One of the people did not get any money, and the two people that voted against it did get money from the same developer. So it was a beautiful night because she controlled the room and she was just so good.
Polished.
Yeah.
Good for her.
It's very good.
Yeah.
We need to have her back on the show.
Oh, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I was thinking that when the whole stuff went down a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Hear directly from them. Yeah.
By the way, all I had to do was look at the pictures, and I'm just like, God.
Yeah.
What I found
of the people?
Maybe Lynchburg's different. I doubt it. But what I found in Bedford, it's the same people.
It is.
Yeah.
And they just complain.
Yes.
By the way, they're not, like people always say, they're not listening to the voters. You're not my voters.
No, you weren't going to vote for them anyway. That's right.
So stop saying that I'm not listening to people. Of course I'm listening.
Without really knowing, there was probably 80 people in there last night, maybe even more. But without knowing, I would say 60% came in hostile. Like it was somewhat, the feeling in the room was like this could get out of hand before it starts. She handled it. I guarantee you 90% of the people that left there last night, because there's always that fringe that doesn't matter. There's no way that they didn't leave there going, this woman knows her shit.
Yeah.
I mean, they really have to know that. Yeah.
You hope so.
Well. Okay, so let's play a game. Let's play how long you can listen to this, which I know you know what's about to happen, but this is that whole Whoopi Goldberg thing that you listen to, and we'll stop as soon as you say stop. Cut 10.
And it's slow.
But let's just remember too, the Iranians literally throw gay people off of buildings. They don't adhere to basic human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not do that, because if we start with that, we have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car.
Where the Iranian regime is today is nothing compared to the United States.
Hanging black people. So
it is not even the same. I couldn't step foot during this.
Wait. That's not what you mean to say. It is the same.
No, it's not. The year 2025 in the United States is nothing like if I step foot wearing this outfit in Toronto.
I'm sorry.
What, they wear like Iranian? No, I can't have my hair showing. I can't wear a skirt. I can't have my arms out.
I'm telling you,
I literally said it was up to the Iranian people.
Yes,
it is up to them.
And that's why I am saying that it is the same. Murdering someone for their difference is not good, whoever does it. It's not good. So that's why I said you weren't saying what I heard was not what you meant.
I think it's very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're black.
Not for everybody.
Not if you're black.
Guys, don't go to Tehran. Do not anyone at this table.
Let me tell you about being in this country. This is the greatest country in the world. But yeah, I know that. And we all know that.
No, you don't.
But every day we are worried. Do we have to be worried about our kids? Are our kids going to get shot because they're running?
That's what I told you.
I can't.
700 million in her career. You know what I mean? Come on.
Like, first of all, when she said that that they're being attacked for their difference.
Yeah.
Who?
Right.
If you're talking about George Floyd, you're telling me that the cop just walking down the street attacked him because he was different. You left out all the other criminality that he was doing.
It's the same gotcha thing that they always try to pull you in. Here, do you remember this lady, E. Jean Carroll?
God, please tell me.
These are in the dumbasses. This is another one. How long can you hang with this?
All right, but you always say, like, have we ever found the cocaine? Like, who brought the cocaine? Right, things like that.
Yeah.
Has she ever gotten $1?
That's right. Do you know if she did or didn't? And I don't think she has.
Correct.
Right? I think, in fact, she has to pay him. If I recall correctly. Oh, no, that was the Summers.
I'm talking. This girl won the.
She won the rape case that was
rape case, right? That was totally made up.
Totally made up.
Yeah.
Past its point of whatever. This is the person that would do something like this. So this tells you who would create the lawsuit. She is literally crazy. Cut 15.
I know my own pleasures, and they don't. And that doesn't involve buying things. Where my pleasure comes is making him so pissed off he can't think. We need to prick his little balloon constantly. And one of the ways to do that is to give his money to women's reproductive rights.
Oh, hell yeah.
To binding up the wounds of democracy, which he is destroying by the very instant that we're sitting here, shoring up voting rights. Can you imagine how angry he takes this? He made $600 million last year on Bitcoin.
Grifting.
And as Robbie says, do you know anybody except criminals who make money on Bitcoin? No, do we? We don't. Anyway, so it's just so delicious. Thinking
earlier,
I can't tell.
Remember we were asking whether the Daily Caller was liberal or not?
Oh, there you go.
There's your answer.
Daily Caller.
So that lady
oh my God,
can you tell any difference between her and the wife of Tim Walz?
Oh.
Do you remember the lady that said, turn the page. Turn the page. I mean, they all look the same. They talk the same, and they don't have any facts with what they say.
Oh, God.
Just made up stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
So for every $1 she says she's going to give to reproductive rights, Trump just got $60 million from CBS. Yeah. So you keep doing stupid stuff, you win stupid prizes.
All right. So this is, you might recognize this Democrat. This is from 2007. Listen to the question that she answers and listen to this answer. Okay. 2007. Listen to this.
Would you allow these cities to ignore the federal law regarding the reporting of illegal immigrants and, in fact, provide sanctuary to these immigrants?
The reason the cities ignore the federal law is the fact that there is no funding at the federal level to provide for the kind of enforcement at the federal level you need. Pick up the New York Times today. There's a city not far across the river from my state that imposed a similar sanctions. And what they found out is, as a consequence of that, their city went in the dumps, in the dumpster. Stores started closing. Everything started to happen. And they changed the policy. Part of the problem is you have to have a federal government that can enforce laws. This administration has been fundamentally derelict in not funding any of the requirements that are needed even to enforce the existing law.
So, Senator Biden, yes or no, would you allow the cities to ignore the federal law?
No.
Would you
Gotcha.
That's the AOC thing that you just played earlier.
Yeah.
They just make up.
Yeah, they do. They just absolutely lie.
Yeah. All right. You can cut this off too really quick, but this is just kind of a long list of
I want to put this in
winning.
perspective. So 1.7% right now. For Biden, it was down 1.7%. For Obama, it was down 0.3%. For Bush, it was down 0.6. For Clinton, it was down 0.6. For the first Bush term, it was down 3%. Even under Reagan, it was down almost 1%. But here's what's more interesting, Brian. Right now, the national unemployment rate is 4.2%. For construction workers, it's 3.5%. You know where it was in January? 6.5. You think about how dramatic that is in such a short period of time. Manufacturing unemployment, 3.6% from 3.9%. Non-durable goods, 3.7% now. We started the year at 5.2%. Mining, oil, and gas extraction, 4.2%. We started the year at 5%. This is dramatic. This is mind-boggling stuff. What we're seeing right now. The speed. How do you get an unemployment rate to go from 6.5% to 3.5% in 5 months?
It's just more winning.
They can't answer though. Like, well, I read the news. It's like, oh, the jobs report wasn't good.
Yeah.
But they never give me how bad it was. They just say it wasn't good.
Do you remember the jobs report? They always used to give you a number and then they give you the correction the next month.
Exactly.
And do you think they're going to do the corrections anymore?
So, which, by the way, the Dow has been killing it lately.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yeah, we're higher than we've ever been. Has Brad sent us that photo?
Of course not.
Okay, Mr. Pessimist. All right. Has this guy, the top, nobody has to be in the top 3 of all people that Trump has appointed, right?
Yes.
So we just had the judge ruling, or the Supreme Court ruling, that these rogue judges,
for example, consented.
Do what they do. Sorry. So that's okay. Look at what Stephen Miller, this cut 47.
To be ruled by a judge in San Francisco. Nobody living in Oklahoma consented to be ruled by a judge living in Chicago. But under the system, any judge, any communist judge, any Marxist judge, any crazy left-wing judge could decide major national questions for the whole country. A single district court judge could decide, for example, that an entire class of illegal aliens is exempt from deportation in all 50 states in the entire country. Or a single judge could rule, for example, that a major federal agency would be forced to pursue illegal race-based discrimination, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So policy after policy after policy was being decided not by the elected president, the one official elected by the whole American people, but by unelected judges. And in many cases, we're talking about unelected tyrants who are imposing their will on the entire nation. So this is really a momentous ruling. It is a ruling that we have hoped for, not just, by the way, over the last 5 months.
But I mean, he explains it so just straightforward.
Yeah.
It's not giving me BS bull.
When Newt Gingrich was testifying in Congress this year about this very issue, and the Democrat was trying to say, hey, did you know that you had, 72 conservative justices that stopped Biden from his policies? And Newt Gingrich said, thank you. You're making my point.
Yeah.
Why do we have any?
Yeah.
So let's do something to stop it.
Right.
So, I mean, they're so stupid. They don't even realize.
Newt's on my Mount Rushmore of conservatives that I followed. We should do a Mount Rushmore of conservatives.
So good.
Was he got his shoes on trying to get out of here?
No, what he's doing. Oh, my God, that hurt.
And then the last thing I have here, this is the, before we go to the end of the show clip, but I love this guy on CNN. But, dude, this is one of the best answers to winning that I have heard in a good while. Cut 48.
Knows that the lower courts cannot carte blanche stop him, which hugely increases the power of the executive.
Yeah, look, this is a great week for him, not just because of this ruling, but earlier in the week, the Supreme Court handed him the ruling on being able to deport illegal immigrants to third-party countries, essentially. So he's on a little bit of a winning streak in the courts right now. And what a lot of Republicans are saying is, nope, we're not tired of winning yet. This happened. The stock market's at a record high. He brokered the ceasefire in the 12-day war. Peace broke out between Rwanda and the Congo. I mean, gas prices are at a 4-year low for the summer. I mean, win after win after win. And this particular one is the most important because these individual judges had been, I think, unfairly stopping the president from governing. He won the election. They didn't. We don't have 600 presidents. We have one president. And now he's going to be able to actually govern. And so you could make an argument that this week or the last 2 weeks, the best week or 2 weeks of his entire presidency.
I mean, that guy's just so good on the show.
Don't you love the facial expressions of all the liberals?
That is my favorite thing, that they cut to their face and they don't know how to answer. He nails it every single time. He stays so calm to it during too. I'd be yelling at these people that are yelling at him. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry, but we got to play you got to play this. Like, this is that evil woman that got fired from MSNBC, Joy Reid.
Yeah. Okay.
Listen to what she's talking about with the alligator Alcatraz. Cut 29.
to forget about him, but Ron DeSantis is still governor of Florida. He took the Comfy Couch hosts on a tour of the concentration camp that he's building in Florida in order to round up brown people, and throw them in a camp because he doesn't want them in Florida. Surprise, surprise, the economy of Florida is going to be severely harmed by rounding up brown people who, by the way, all over this country, Latinos are afraid to go to work. Anybody who is perceived or looks Latino is afraid to go to work. I know people who are not to forget about him.
Jesus.
Dude, I mean, I see she's on her own show. I don't know what channel that would it be on.
It's her own podcast. Look, that's her living room.
She's not. She should not be allowed. I mean, man,
hard times.
Can we get her in this studio?
My God,
what is going on here?
Can we get her in this studio? How about you take her in your home studio and let her do a show there? At least it would look better.
Look at the carpet.
Oh God,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Ugh.
So,
wait a minute. Go back.
Oh, sorry, I clicked out of it.
Let
me see if I can find out why you.
Dude, it just if you looked at, was she sitting in the floor?
I know. It looked like the stuff. Maybe that's what somebody thought you were still standing at the table.
Now you're screwed up their algorithms because you typed in Joy Reid.
That's okay.
Oh, God, I gave her credit.
That's all right, man. You got to you. Anyway, so this last thing, I've been doing preachers and watching Chosen and stuff like that. There's something on TikTok that has hooked me lately, and it's these stories that people have of their death experiences, not near death.
So is this the end of
this end show? Yeah.
All right. Before you get to it, we got to figure out a way to transition from your have at it to end a show without it being, because we've got to talk about next week before you do your end of show.
Okay.
So you need to.
Well, listen,
come on,
man,
you need to step it up.
If we didn't have the military stuff, Carolina Covenant comes after me.
No, I get that, but I'm saying when you transition from your have at it stuff,
I'm trying to get out of here.
Do I need to make another bumper? I can do that.
No. We just need to let everybody know that next week's guest is
Greg Meacham, and he served in the Marine Corps. And I think he was also part of CIA, and he was part of a group that they made a movie about on Netflix.
So I've got a question for him because I saw this the other day, and I want to know the answer to it. I was told, just by watching a segment, that the CIA, it is illegal for the CIA to operate inside the United States. That it was developed for foreign intelligence, and it is illegal for them to obtain any information on any U.S. citizen whatsoever. That is why the FBI is oftentimes brought in to work with the CIA, is to basically do their bidding in the United States.
Because it's the domestic investigation.
And so I want to know if that's the case.
Well, this guy, I remember him telling me his story when I put him on the list. There's a movie called Mosul, Mosul, on Netflix. Mm-hmm. It's about the group that he helped train.
Oh, wow.
So I'm really interested. I said, yep.
Did you know that when he said Joint Special Operations, is that JSOC?
I don't know.
Because Joint Operations Special Command or Joint, anyway.
Should Google it.
It's not right now.
Anyway, so sorry.
Caught me.
Well, we can work on what to do between
that's fine.
And end of show.
It was good to have you back.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me.
Thank you for all the upgrades that we're doing now.
Everybody that walks in here is just so impressed with him.
Awesome.
Yeah, and you should be. Yeah,
I mean, that guy that we had today, Jay McCoy, talked about being on several different podcasts, and he was wowed what we had here.
I love that.
How cool is that?
Yeah. Now, if you just get the outside to match the inside.
I talked to the landlord about it.
God, I got to do something with the landscaping. Hey, if you listen, I'm. Did you say
it's bright?
Wait a minute,
shine.
That's my side.
Oh, okay.
So I don't want to hear it.
Okay, all right.
But in all honesty, if you're a listener to the show and you know a landscaper or somebody who likes to do that type of stuff, I need it. We don't have anybody. I'd love to. There's a lot of stuff I'd like to do around here.
Open a landscape place. We could.
Idiot.
Just hire one.
Where? They don't exist.
Okay.
Dude, my lawn is horrible, and I really want it fixed.
At your house?
Yes.
I don't know if my guy will come this far, but I can ask him.
Yeah, I don't need a grass mower. I got a grass mower. There's a big difference between mowing grass and having a lawn.
He does both.
I need a fix my lawn. I need, anyway, I don't want to get off on a tangent. We're already at 7:30.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a video that we put together here, Woody, that's going to end the show. Look on your face.
Brian worked on it all day.
No,
it is.
you know,
it's about a 6 minute.
It was touching to me because I've been watching Chosen, and it meant so much that what he
Nice.
described in reality, it gives me hope that, you know, there's hope, kind of a thing.
Faith.
Yeah.
Hope.
Have a good week.
Have a good week, folks. We'll see you next week. Emma will be back.
Yeah.
So things will be a little bit more back to normal.
Smoother.
Yep.
More
no more
pleasant
middle
voice.
fingers.
No more middle fingers.
No more middle fingers. All right. Emma, if you don't listen to this week's show, you're out. So,
We'll test her. We're going to
where was
quiz
she
her.
going? Does anybody know?
I know she was at the beach. I don't know what
She did
beach though.
mention it.
Oh, she doesn't go to Disney World? That's not like a company thing?
Well,
You don't send your
I don't
employees to
send them.
Disney World?
No, that's my spot. that's for me.
Does Laura listen to the show?
Yeah, she listened today.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Does he do the dishes, Laura?
We love Laura.
I do. Well, no, she does much.
We.
I do love the house stuff that you post on there and mowing and all that. I'm so happy that you guys are in there.
Ah, thank you.
Yep.
We love it.
What type of mower do you have?
It's got an electric one.
Oh
my God.
Y'all think listen, I
That's
am
great.
part of Ryobi
I'm
Nation.
convinced.
Tesla.
Ryobi Nation.
Hey, tag
Yeah.
Ryobi.
I
I
love
think it's an American company.
dude. Anything green, I'll buy. All the attachments, all the battery.
Mine is Greenworks. I like the Greenworks
There you
products. Yeah, I'm in it too.
All right, folks. See you next week.
Surgical table. I look to my right, and out of nowhere, Jesus is standing there. The physical person. And I look and I'm like really confused. I'm thinking, what is going on here? And then I thought to myself, did I die? And I thought, I've heard of people when they die, they see themselves floating up above their body. And I thought, I didn't do that, so I must not be dead. But what's going on? It wasn't like it was a dream. It was like heightened reality. And it started right when Jesus stood there. Everything was different. His skin was much darker than I'd seen as a kid. He almost looked like an Arab man. He was wearing a white robe. He had like wavy brown hair, and he had these dark greenish blue eyes. And when those eyes looked into my eyes, he looked into my soul. I could just feel this love emanating from this man. That was what convinced me that it was Jesus. Everything about him just radiated love. He holds out his hand and he says, I want to answer your prayer. And I'm thinking, my prayer? What the heck? I didn't make the connection right away, but I thought, I used to pray as a kid that Jesus would show me heaven. Sounds like a great place, I'd like to see that. I reached out, I took his hand. Immediately, when I took his hand, we were standing on a hill. Everything around me is white, like the whitest white I've ever seen. It's almost blinding. But I look down at my feet and I'm barefoot. I'm still in a nightgown, the surgical gown. And I see this beautiful green grass. It's like it's manicured, it's perfect. It's bluish green, prettiest grass I've ever seen. And my senses were heightened to the point where I could count every single blade of grass under my feet. I could feel every blade of grass. I knew how many blades of grass were touching my feet. It was crazy. And I look around, I'm trying to adjust my eyes to this white so I can see. And I look, and off to my right is another brighter white, but this is like a light. And I look at that light and I think, wow, that's really cool, And all of a sudden, out of that light, it starts sending these light beams. when I was looking at this, I was just in awe. And, obviously confused. Still, I spent a lot of time confused because I'm thinking, what is this? Where am I? And I'm watching these things, and one of them is coming straight at my head. And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Should I dodge this thing or what? It hits me right in the forehead. And as it does, it makes this kind of buzzing sound, a light buzzing sound as it goes through me. And it warmed me like all the way down to my feet. So that cold that I felt in the surgical room now is replaced with this beautiful warm feeling. All of a sudden, it's like somebody is pulling a curtain from my right to my left. And the white, whatever it was, the white fog or veil or just the whiteness just gets pulled to the side. And now I'm looking at this beautiful scenery. I see that I am standing on a hill. Below me are these little flowers. They're almost like, describe them like sweet peas. Like they have like these little, they're like little petals, little soft petals, but they're all like a pastel color. They're purples and yellows and orange and pinks and just beautiful. And they're moving like they're dancing in the wind, but there's no wind. So I'm thinking, well, why are they moving? And then at the bottom of this hill, the white that was pulled away from me is now settled in the valley. And there's a great big city down there. But I can only see the rooftops because it's like there's fog on top of the city. So I can't see the whole city, but I can just see the rooftops. And there's one real big gold dome, like a Capitol dome. And there's other smaller gold domes. I mean, the city's huge. It's like miles apart. I'm just looking at it, just going, this is amazing. And when I look back at the light where they were starting from, emanating from, Jesus says to me, it's the glory of the Lord. And when he said that, I just got weak in my knees. And I fell to my knees. And the instant my knees hit the ground, they shocked me and they brought me back.